Why? Because it's a time that is designated for people of African descent to reflect on those who have paid the ultimate price that we could be here in this moment, this time. You know, as much as we are in a very trying time, it is still a privilege to be here, to be free somewhat, you know, working towards that total freedom. If it was not for those sacrifices that was made and I could not be here, we would still maybe be under the shackles and the chains. So we have to honor those great martyrs, heroes, sheroes, heroines, you know, those warriors who blazed the trail that in the 21st century we could be somewhat liberated. And as we see, the continent of Africa is shaping itself up, you know, more than ever before to be an independent continent. And as our ancestors had told us, when Africa's righteous people get their act together, the world will get its act together. So we are here as support, I and I of the diaspora, which the diaspora represents the sixth region of the continent of Africa. We are here to support the continent in gaining its full independence and self-sufficiency. So this is a very important moment. You know, most people don't know that it is coined Black August and the reason why, which the history will be given as we begin the program and the narrative will be shared. We are the council, the EABIC Council of Elders. We have seated ourselves as the custodians of the Rastafari Livity as part of the Pan-African family, bringing knowledge, you know, information to our community, to empower our community, that we can, first of all, know where we are coming from, know how we got here in this present moment, and we can plan our way to the future. We give thanks for giants like Baba Smalls, James Small, who has continuously educated I and I, who has continuously put out information, along with his contemporaries, which we will also be mentioning within the program today. It's going to be an information-packed program, you know, and I hope it will fulfill everybody's anticipation and motivate I and I to greater action. This program is brought to you, as I said, by the EABIC Council of Elders and the Women's Freedom Liberation League.
It's Black August, the month of the Black Tiger Marcus Messiah Garvey. A time of reflection when we take a moment to remember the martyrs and heroes of the African liberation struggle. This individual sacrificed it all that people of African descent could have a chance at a better life. Join the EABIC Council of Elders on Sunday the 16th of August at 12 noon along with our guest speaker Professor Baba James Small as he shares his wisdom. I shall return with countless millions who died in America, the Caribbean and Africa to aid in your struggle for liberty. A promise of Marcus Garvey. Long live the spirit of the Black Tiger. Join us as we honor the legacy of our ancestors. A people without the knowledge of their past are like a tree without roots, which withers and dies. Know the truth and it will set you free. Our freedom is meaningless until all Africans can stand and speak as free people. Our struggle continues.
Yes, yes, yes. Our struggle continues. And we have taken up the mantle and we are moving ahead with it to make sure that our ancestors' sacrifice was not in vain. Giving thanks always for life, for the giver of life, the keeper of life, sustainer of life, and all the benefits that come with life, which is freedom, liberty, mm, the right to live as a free being and to be covered under all the rights that other people are covered on, which has been withheld from people of African descent over the centuries. Even as we speak, we're fighting different struggles on different borders, trying to achieve, those rights and to achieve justice for those who have suffered from the denial of those rights. Like they say, it's not an easy road, but it's a road that we have to walk, and we must make the sacrifices that are required of us, just as our ancestors made those sacrifices.
Greetings and welcome to all. Greetings. You are in the spaces with the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, Council of Elders, and the Woman Freedom Liberation League. We will be beginning this program. We will be beginning this program in a few short minutes. Please bear with us. We are live streaming, but we will be beginning shortly. Chris, go ahead.
Yeah, give thanks. Yes, as we celebrate the giants of Africa, and there are so many. The list goes on and on and on, but we will highlight a few today. You know, some of those very impactful ones, especially those of our era. We have always spoken about those that were before I and I, but we also need to acknowledge those that exist within our time space. See, again, I'll say yes, ones like Baba, James Small, John Henry Clark, and all of those that we will feature. I don't want to preempt the program, you know, but I'm just covering some time as we get prepared to commence. Black people, it's been a arduous journey to where we are at, and we are nowhere yet. There's still a journey ahead of us to achieve what our ancestors, desired for I and I, because they did not we were not created to be hewers of wood or drawers of water. We were not created to be enslaved, because we are not slaves. Neither were our ancestors slaves. They were African. They were Africans enslaved, you know. So we have to remember this and always, correct the narrative, because sometimes we repeat the narrative that was fed to us, seen, to keep our mind in that space. But we have to correct those narratives. We are African people that were enslaved. We were kidnapped from our homeland, brought to the Caribbean, and you hear the name. Just think of the name, Caribbean. Caribbean, all remembrance of self. Caribbean, all linked to our ancient culture. They punished us, they beat us. We were subjected to inhumane treatment and conditions to recondition our mind to accept the titles that they have pushed on us today that separate us. Because a Chinese or an Asian, no matter where they find themselves, if you go to Toronto today, there's a Chinatown. You go to New York, wherever you go and they are there in numbers, they create a representation of themselves.
Down
We
to
are
the
the only,
banks.
my Lord, we are the only people that are called Jamaicans, Barbadians, Trinidadians, and Americans, and all of that stuff. As a matter of fact, some days ago or a couple of weeks ago, I heard Baba James Small correcting a narrative, and I applaud him for his continuous work, where he was correcting a narrative where they have taught people in the Americas that they are African American. No, we are Africans in America.
Natural. And before that, they
Because
call we Afro-Americans. Before they cut was
exactly,
Afro.
we have come up through so many different titles, Negro, the other N word, and black, and all these different titles, like everything else except African, who we are, who we are. We are the African people. We are the ascendants of the original African Eve, who is the mother of creation. All nations came out of our mother, Africa Eve. So we'll never give up a continent for anywhere else, especially the islands where we have been domiciled for near 400 years now. We claim, like Marcus Mosiah Garvey said, we are willing to relinquish all claims on anything in the West, but we must have Africa. And we have reached a point now to where what is due to us is due to us. Even what we have earned in the West, we will not give it up either. Those who choose to make a life wherever they find themselves have that right. But those of us who have Africa dear to our hearts also have that right to demand our return, our right of return to the African continent. We will never relinquish that right. We love our continent, the place where our navel string was first cut, the place where our ancestors created civilization and taught it to the world, the place that they call the dark continent. And they didn't call it the dark continent because of the hue of our skin, because we are melanated people. They called it the dark continent because they wanted to keep it hidden, keep it a secret, so they could continue to pilfer, to rape and rob our motherland.
And plunder.
It's Black August, the month of the Black Tiger Marcus Mosiah Garvey. A time of reflection when we take a moment to remember the martyrs and heroes of the African liberation struggle. Those courageous individuals who sacrificed it all that people of African descent could have a chance at a better life. Join EABIC Council of Elders on Sunday the 16th of August at 12 noon along with our guest speaker Professor Baba James Small as he shares his wisdom. I shall return with countless millions who died in America, the Caribbean and Africa to aid in your struggle for liberty. A promise of Marcus Garvey. Long live the spirit of the Black Tiger. Join us as we honor the legacy of our ancestors. A people without the knowledge of their past are like a tree without roots, which withers and dies. Know the truth and it will set you free. Our freedom is meaningless until all Africans can stand and speak as free people. Our struggle continues.
No, Baba Ken, I see your
Greetings.
text.
No, I don't miss
Yeah,
it.
you have not.
Greet-
We have not done the housekeeping as yet. We're about to commence and go through the housekeeping before we get into our program. Um, Guests who are here today, who are not part of the council, we usually have a little housekeeping that we do, a little ritual, how we start our gatherings. We will proceed with that in the opening, and then we will go right into our program. Royal Empress, you are speaking.
Greetings. Yes, greetings, and welcome. Welcome to all new visitors. Welcome to all online as we live stream. You are sitting today, August 16th, 2026, with the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, Council of Elders, and the Woman Freedom Liberation League. Today's program will begin. Honorable Priest Ainsley, our
Blessed
chair.
love.
We also have Honorable Priest Rastavana, our administrator. We also have Honorable Empress Diane, our secretary, and myself, Honorable Empress Trisha, the
Royal.
Royal Tech. Yes. And we have
Multiple hats.
many other members, many other members who are on here. I can't see the names right now, so I'm pretty, but we are ready to begin our program. Honorable Priest Ainsley.
Majesty
My
bless.
Lord, Majesty God.
Majesty
Blessed love,
Honorable Prophet Albert
Greetings,
Rastafari.
greetings, my Lord.
Give thanks for the
Council of
coming.
Elders.
My Lord
Royal
and
Council.
Empress, we call for a divine royal reverence, virtual reverence in the virtual courts of Rastafari. By the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down. Yeah, we wept when we remembered Zion. We hung our harps upon the willows in the midst thereof. For they that carried us away captive required of us a song, and they that wasted us required us of a mirth, saying, Sing us one of the songs of Zion. How shall we sing the Lord's song and strain? If thee, let my wrath be ended. If I do not remember thee, let my tongue cleave the roof of my mouth. If I prefer the Africa above my chief joy. Holy Emmanuel, I, Selassie, I, Jah, Rastafari. Behold, how good and how pleasant it is for us brethren and sisters to dwell together in unity and love. It's like the precious ointment upon our head that went down unto our beard. Even Aaron's beard that went down unto the skirts of his garment. As the dew of Hermon, and as the dew of descended upon the mountain of Zion. From where the Lord commanded his majesty blessings, even life and love forevermore. So hail our God, Selassie, Jehovah God, Rastafari. Our Almighty God, Jah Rastafari, great and terrible God, Jah Rastafari is the Almighty God. Jah, who seated in Zion and reigned the heart of all flesh. O thou most high eternal Father, Jehovah God, Jah Rastafari. Hear us and bless us, O Lord, keep and sanctify us all. And cause thy holy face to shine upon us, thy children, that we shall be saved and redeemed. O thou most high God, Jah, Rastafari, to the works, we are soldiers of God. Let us follow the path that our Master hath trod. With the balm of your counsel,
yeah.
Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. Again, a blessed welcome to each and everyone taking time out of their busy schedule to come and fellowship with us. And we give thanks to our ancient prophet, the Black Tiger, who we are commemorating today, who is Earth Strongest tomorrow, Honorable John Marcus Messiah Garvey, who we refer as our prophet, who came to show us the vision. We don't have no vision. they have no hope, they perish. So we give thanks for the black hope and the black vision that the man has afforded us. We are Ethiopia Church Bible vision. Yeah, and the call of and we call and praise.
Apologize for the breaking up. Now we're living in a world, imperfect world, so it's a little bit of technical challenges. But as we go along, we will remove those challenges with the energy that we create together, because together we are very powerful.
My
Honorable Chair.
Lord.
Empress Miriam is not in at the moment.
Honorable Priest Sevens is there.
My Lord.
My Lord and Empress, bless her.
Honorable Priest Sevens, Royal Co-Chair, we could ask you to bless us with a chorus, my Lord, for this morning period of
Yes.
commemoration.
Yes, Majesty, my Lord and Empress, thanks for the celebration 139th anniversary of the Black Tiger. Marcus Messiah Garvey, Selassie, Jah,
Yeah, Rastafari.
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 Jeremiah is a prophet. Jeremiah is a prophet. Messiah Garvey is his name. He bore the witness of Negan, the wonders to proclaim. Jarastafari, Jarastafari, Messiah Garvey is his name. Jarastafari, Jarastafari, the Black Tiger is his name. Jeremiah is a prophet. Messiah Garvey is his name. He bore the witness of Negan, our wonders to proclaim. Jarastafari, Jarastafari, Messiah Garvey is his name. Jarastafari, Jarastafari, the Black Tiger is his name. Jeremiah is a prophet. Messiah Garvey is his name. He bore the witness of Negan, the wonders to proclaim. Jarastafari, Jarastafari, King Selassie is his name. Jarastafari, Jarastafari, Messiah Garvey is his name. Amen. Holy Mount Zion, Zion, Zion. Holy Mount Zion, Zion. The whole world is my province until Africa is free, said the Black God. Marcus I, Selassie I, Jah,
Selassie, Jah, Rastafari.
Rastafari, my Lord and Empress. Blessed are the celebration. That's it.
Majesty.
Honorable Priest Sevens, Royal Choir Master in his own rights. Do give thanks for such an upful and appropriate chorus for this morning period. And moving forward, we call on the Empress Dion, our Royal Secretary, to give us the roll call.
And the way it is right now, there is so many guests online and
So
on
we
the
would
platform.
yeah,
It would,
yeah, my vibes
we
that,
would,
my vibes that.
we
So
will
And
we
focus.
call on
Priest Seven didn't give his welcome.
yes, we call on the Honorable Priest Sevens, our Royal Co-Chair, to give us a welcoming word to each and everyone that took time out to fellowship with us today.
Yes, my Lord and Empress. We do give thanks for each and everyone participating. All our viewers our listeners on YouTube, our royal audience there and far. We do give thanks to each and every one. And we do welcome everyone to this blessed celebration program. And on this program, we have a royal guest speaker, royal professor, Baba James Smalls, who is soon to come in. And we do await his royal presence to even soak up the knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of the elders. So we do give thanks to each and everyone partaking today, my Lord and Empress, as we celebrate the birth strong of the Black Tiger, Market Messiah Garvey from 1887 till 1941, so to say, So we do give thanks for everything that the man has done, while him trod on the earth, and awaken the hearts of I and I black people, who were slumbering and sleeping. So give thanks for the Black Tiger again. Marcus I, Selassie I,
Selassie, Jah,
Jah,
Rastafari,
Rastafari, my Lord and Empress, blessed
Yes.
my
welcome.
Lord.
Blessed love, my Lord and Empress. We do give thanks again. We do give thanks. And yes, we do have Baba James Small in the audience already. Give thanks and welcome, welcome, welcome. You are sitting in the spaces with the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, Council of Elders, and the Woman Freedom Liberation League. Today is Sunday, August 16, 2026. All protocols observed. We would like to again welcome all ones. We ask that you keep hydrated throughout the entire program, that you get your water, your fruit water, whatever fruits, vegetables that you may need. You also can get your coconut water. Yes, so that you can remain hydrated throughout the entire program. For those who may have any questions at the end of the program that you may want to, ask the royal guest speakers or any one of the panelists, you are welcome to have your pen, pencils, computers, whatever that you need to take your notes. We do ask that you do that. We also reminded ones and ones that we are live streaming today on the EABIC Council of Elders YouTube channel, meeting ID number 859-2457-6191. Pass, and I'll repeat that, 2457-6191 with the passcode of 554675. We ask that you subscribe, like, comment, and share also. Today's, I'll be going straight. I am Honorable Empress Tricia, and I will be going straight into today's inspiration. Today's inspiration, of course, comes from our Queen sister, our Queen Mother, Ayanla Van Zandt, Acts of Faith. We don't know how to celebrate because we don't know what to celebrate, by Peter Brock. Guess what? We're having a party today in celebration of you. You are one of your favorite people in the world. You are what life is all about, and you know it. So let's celebrate. Let your hair down, kick your shoes off, open your windows, your curtains, even the blinds. Pump up the volume and let's do it for you. Let's celebrate your victories, big and small. Let's celebrate the things you did that you thought you could not do, but you did them anyway, and they worked. Let's celebrate because millions didn't make it, and you were one of the ones who did. We're going to invite everyone in the world to celebrate in the being of you. We're going to have a low down, get down in honor of you. That is what life is all about. Living, laughing, and loving. Not worrying, working, and whining. So come on, get loose, get free, get up, so we can get down in celebration of you. Today is my day to let the good times roll. today's reflection, how will you celebrate life today? Who will you invite to join the party, my Lord and Empress? Blessed love. And again, welcome to all our guests, to all our online YouTubers, and to each and every Council of Elders members of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress and the Women Freedom Liberation League. I will turn this over to Honorable Empress Diane. Honorable Empress.
Blessed love, give thanks. Blessed love, royal family. Black August is an annual month-long observance dedicated to honoring Black freedom fighters, political prisoners, and the ongoing resistance against systematic racism, state violence, and oppression. Originating in California's San Quentin State Prison in 1979, it commemorates pivotal figures like George and Jonathan Jackson, among others, who felt the blunt edge of racism and were dealt with extreme prejudice. It is a month wherein the true activist and freedom fighter give reverence as a memorial to those who sacrificed their lives for African liberation. It is a time of reflection when we pour libation to honor our ancestors, calling their names and recounting their contributions, lest we forget those priceless sacrifices. Blessed love.
Honorable Priest Savannah.
Give thanks. Yes, welcome everyone to a day of reflection. Today we will be calling just a few of those names because the list is so long. Give thanks as we get into our program. The Honorable Baba James Small is with us, and we don't want to keep him too long waiting to take his rightful position. So I will call upon the Honorable Chair to make his presentation, his message, give us a message, to set the tone for the rest of the program.
My Lord, Majesty bless. It is with great joy and humility that the elders of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress and of the Women's Freedom Liberation League present this program, which has been titled Reflection in this month of Black August. The list of those great giants of the African liberation struggle is so vast, it would take months to list them all. But from time to time, the Council of Elders try to recognize different ones whose work has been impactful. Today, we'll be featuring a few of those warriors from the modern era whose contributions were laid on the foundation of our ancestors, who fought and broke the chains of slavery, creating the building blocks for our future. This indomitable people of African descent destroyed the prison of colonialism, some of whom are still working to emancipate those people trapped in the clouds of mental slavery. Today's guest speaker is one of such activists, Honorable Professor James Small. Let us get ready to learn from his wisdom. I will now turn it over to the program team to introduce the program. And before that, Honorable Professor Small, I take it as such a privilege in my lifetime that I could at least speak virtually and listen to you virtually. For you certainly are one of our heroes. My Honorable team.
Spirituality guides your life. Culture informs your life. Culture is your primary educational system. It gives you your values, interests, and principles. If you are practicing the culture of those who practice genocide against you, then you will practice genocide against yourself. Professor James Small. Honorable Priest Rasavana.
Greetings again, everyone. I am Priest Rasavana Ashanti, and yes, jumping right in today's program. Today's program is special for several reasons, the most significant of which is I of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, Council of Elders, will be blessed with the presence of an African living legend, one of the remaining pioneers of African history studies in the African diaspora, Professor Baba James Small. While no further introduction is necessary because he is well known, I will take this opportunity to reflect on some of his contemporaries in Black August. As a young African from the Caribbean living in the USA, whose cultural upbringing was centered around Rastafari, I became exposed to what inspired Marcus Garvey to venture to America, which was the Black consciousness of the people in places like Harlem, Philadelphia, Detroit, and Chicago. I was fortunate to encounter people like Brother Del Jones and his queen, Sister Q. Del Jones, also known as the war correspondent, who Jabulani, and I were privileged to work with. He was an analytical mind. His most important publication was his assessment of the misrepresentation of the African livity, which he coined as culture bandits. There was the Ethiopian Dr. Ben Yakanan, a phenomenal mind whose expertise was in African history and research. Dr. John Henry Clark, another historian who helped to establish African studies in academia. Following on his heels was Professor Leonard Jeffries of City College in New York. He started the African History Studies program at the institution. He is one of my mentors and a recipient of the Marcus Garvey Lifetime Achievement Awards from Roots Foundation in Florida. This leads us to our beloved brethren, Dr. Renoko Rashidi, whose legacy is unparalleled. He traveled the globe documenting in pictures the African presence among the indigenous peoples. When he passed through Florida on his many journeys, he would spend a moment grounding with I. He was also a recipient of the Marcus Garvey Award. As I reflect on the great giants who inspired I, we would be unbalanced if we didn't mention the queens, whose contribution is monumental. Sisters such as Queen Mother Moore, a Garveyite and Pan-African activist, followed by her contemporary, Queen Mother Jordan, another stalwart Garveyite, who was also a recipient of the Marcus Garvey Lifetime Achievement Award. Queen Mother Jordan took I under her wings, calling Jabulani and I her sons. And I will share just a little bit about Queen Mother Jordan because she's very special to us. Queen Mother Jordan lost her sight early in her years, but that did not dampen her or lessen her in any way. This is a queen that would call I, myself, Jabulani, and myself at sometimes 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, AM I'm talking about, on her way home from some place, from visiting some ones or attending some event. And we would be on the phone with her, keeping her company until she reached her place of abode. This woman traveled the globe without sight, you know, teaching Black
Yes.
consciousness, highlighting Marcus Mosiah Garvey. Sometimes she would be wrapped in the red, black, and green. You could spot her from miles off, seen moving through. Sometimes at night, I would hear her at a crossroads, about to cross the road, and a young man would come up and be crossing the road at the same time, and you'd hear her say, "Young man, take me across the road." I spent many moments sitting at her feet, listening to the history of I and I as a people, and being encouraged by her. She often spoke to I Jabulani and myself and encouraged us to continue on the work that we were doing, as Black activists. She is one that I will never forget, and I am better for meeting her. These are but a few of the many giants who were contemporaries of our great speaker, Baba James Small. I and I had been inspired by Baba Small from the days of Harlem and was formally introduced to him in Jamaica at one of Irie FM's Marcus Garvey celebrations when Roots Foundation brought Dr. Umar Johnson, who was one of the guest speakers. Baba Small has blazed a trail, sharing his knowledge globally. To set the atmosphere for Baba, and I will go through the rest of the list of a few of the giants among whose names he is known. There you see Ivan van Sertima, another giant among I and I, whose name must never be forgotten. Dr. Phil Valentine. These are people that all of I and I as conscious Africans should know and remember. And if you don't know, you need to go and do your research. Buy their books, read what they have left as a legacy for I and I. Here we have our brother, Dr. Claude Anderson, someone that I have worked with in Florida here. Dr. Joy DeGroom, another person who we brought to Florida. Everyone knows our mother, our Queen Mother, Rita Marley, who has also done her part, you know, living in Ghana for over 20 years, adopting a village and spending her money to uplift her people. That brings us to Edward Wilmot Blyden, another giant among giants. George Padmore, great intellect. CLR James, another monument. Here you have a brother who is keeping the legacy of Marcus Garvey alive in Jamaica, Steve Golden. He's the president of the UNIA chapter in Jamaica. Here you have Brother Miguel Lawn and Professor Michael Barnett. Michael Barnett is a member of Roots Foundation as well. Brother Miguel is the president of the People's Political Party, which was started by the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey back in the day. Brother Miguel revived it and is keeping it going. Everyone should know our Queen Mother, Betty Chavez, which we must remember. Here's another monumental intellect, Dr. Marimba Annie. This is Professor Rupert Lewis of the University of the West Indies, a Garvey scholar who have written many books on Garvey, also an activist, Pan-African, you know, so much I can say about him. Here is Bobby Hill, Robert A. Hill, another Garvey scholar who has written about Garvey as well. Then you have the great Professor Tony Martin, God bless his soul, another Garvey scholar who has made Garvey's legacy live on through his works as well. Another phenomenal mind, a great researcher from the University of the West Indies and many places. She recently did a great exhibition in Germany on the African slavery era, where she documented how Germany with Denmark, the Virgin Islands, and Jamaica connected over the years and the part that those European countries played in our enslavement. Here now you have Dr. Desta Megu. She now resides in Ethiopia. She was one of the diaspora representatives to the AU for several years, a hard worker, Pan-Africanist, came up under the great Pan-African ambassador, Dudley Thompson. Yeah, great Queen Mother again. And here you have the son of Marcus Messiah Garvey, Dr. Julius Garvey, whose birthday it is today. And we would like to say happy birthday to Baba Julius. I hope he lives to see many more, and he's here with us to continue to guide us along the pathway of his father, Marcus Messiah Garvey. And we would be remiss in our duty if we did not highlight our great brethren, Kwame Ture, who, while he was here in Florida, my children got the privilege of performing for him at an event. Give thanks, Brother Kwame. Another hero who paid the ultimate price, another martyr who paid the ultimate price, Walter Rodney. He's responsible for the Rodney riots in Kingston, Jamaica, that was about 1968, when he taught at the University of the West Indies. He went overseas to Canada for an event, and on his return, he was barred. He was declared persona non grata. The people of Jamaica would not have it, so they revolted. And here is the number one political prisoner today, who they hold in shackles and chains, from Philadelphia, Mumia Abu Jamal. And we say, free Mumia. Our sister who recently left us, someone we will never forget as well, Assata Shakur, member of the Black Panther Party, did her part, and now she has moved on to the ancestors. Brother Malcolm needs no introduction. Nation of Islam and a great Pan-Africanist. Give thanks for the Queen of Africa, Empress Menen Aspa, Royal Empress of Ethiopia. The first wife of Marcus Messiah Garvey, Amy Ashwood Garvey, co-founder of the UNIA. She co-founded it with the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. His second wife, Amy Jakes Garvey, the mother of Julius Garvey, also a member of the UNIA, whose legacy lives on as well. She published the philosophy and opinion of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. H. Rap Brown, recently departed as well. Great brother who did his work as well and must be remembered. Kathleen Cleaver, one of the warrior queens of the Black Panther Party, did her job. The mobilizer, I wouldn't say organizer as such, but the mobilizer, the great mobilizer, Dr. Martin Luther King, did his part, faced the enemy without fear. The legacy he left was not that he had a dream. The legacy he left was that he taught us to face the enemy without fear. Knowing what he was up against, he still took to the streets and he faced those enemies without fear with the water cannons and the bullets, the rubber bullets and the batons and the dogs and yeah, did his part. This is King Emmanuel Charles Edwards, the founder of the Ethiopia Africa Black International Congress, one of the shepherds of Rastafari coming out of the land of Jamaica, who we are all a part of that great foundation that he laid. Give thanks. One of Jamaica's national hero, Marcus Mosiah Garvey was the first national hero. Then you have Paul Bogle, who led the Morant Bay Rebellion back in the day, fighting against those British. He is one who helped to bring emancipation to I and I. One of his contemporaries, Sam Sharp, who paid the ultimate price as well. He was hung for leading the Christmas Day Rebellion in Montego Bay, Jamaica. And now you bring us to the indomitable Queen Nanny, the mystic. So many folklores are told of this great leader of the Maroons, Queen Nanny of the Maroons. Yes, family. And our great visionary, our mighty prophet, who came in a darker time to bring some light to I and I, to motivate I and I. He said, up you mighty race, you can accomplish what you will. Yeah, the man said, reach for the stars of equality and justice, you know. And so we continue today his legacy. God blessings. Now,
Honorable
without further ado,
1 second.
yes, sir.
Before we begin the program, I would be remiss if I did not show this photograph here. Also of young ones, our young brothers and sisters whose life were taken away senselessly. And this is the reason why we put on these programs, so that we can, be aware of what is happening in the world around us. And it says that
Black Lives Matter.
correct. Before the investigations were complete, before all evidence was in, before due process had run its course, white America somehow took the sides of the black cop who murdered George Floyd, the white cop who murdered Botham Jean, the white cop who murdered Tatiana Jefferson, the white cops who killed Breonna Taylor, the white man who killed Jordan Neely, the white men who murdered Ahmaud Arbery, the white cop who murdered Laquan McDonald, Susan Smith who murdered her own children and blamed it on a black man, Charles Stewart who murdered his wife and blamed it on a black man, the white friends of Nolan Wells. Again and again, whiteness gets the presumption of innocence, the benefit of the doubt, the systematic explanation, and the rush to defend. But Black people asking questions, demanding answers, and refusing to accept a convenient narrative before the facts are known are making everything about race. The caucasity is breathtaking. You don't get to make race matters when defending whiteness and then demand that Black people pretend race doesn't exist. when we demand accountability. God bless. And like I said, I would have been remiss if I did not show this picture today, my Lord and Empress. Blessed.
Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. Yes, without any further delay, I would like to welcome our guest speaker, the Honorable Professor Baba James Small, to the platform. Welcome, welcome, Baba.
Thank you. Thank you. I am just most honored to be involved in this Black August celebration and commemoration. And I want to thank the Black International Congress and the Council of Elders and all those who thought I might bring something to what was just demonstrated as a massive history lesson, based on all of the great elders. And what was wonderful, I served as a student or comrade to about 99% of those ancestors that you presented. Today, we want to celebrate one of our greats. We want to celebrate, tomorrow is his actual Earth Day, but we want to celebrate the moment in time when Jah, the divine, became human as Messiah Marcus Garvey. I say that, and some people take it lightly, and I know the Rasta community tried to make that clear, but I don't think our people really get it. We still think like white people, like there's some God up in the sky someplace, some white man that gives us privilege or take privileges away. That's never been the African way of thinking, never. And so when the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey came to this earth, that was Jah itself. An aspect of Jah manifests itself as a human being to do the work he was sent and destined to do. That's what our
Ashe.
culture and ancestors teach me and tell me. That's how I understand reality. We have to make sure and be clear when we talk about our Africanness. We not talk about ourselves like white people talk about themselves. We're not the same things. We are the divine having the human experience. And we need to make that our every minute of understanding. We need to know that that is true. And the work that we've come to do, every one of us here today has an equal responsibility and an equal duty to set the universe aright. Let me say that again. Each and every one of us here today, living on this earth, Africans, I don't know about the others, they're not us. We have a responsibility, having been given birth to as the divine, an aspect of the divine essence, to set this earth, to set this universe aright. That's our responsibility. Not to be captured in this little tiny white consciousness, which could not truly be called consciousness when placed beside African and divine consciousness. When the Honorable Marcus Garvey was born on August 17th, 1987 in St. Anne's, and I've been to St. Anne's a couple of times to visit, to feel the spirit. I've been to the home where he came to the earth, and I've been to the printing shop that he worked out of.
Eddie, I'm not cutting the elder. He said 1987.
Oh,
Yeah,
I'm
we
sorry. Let
get
me
that.
change it. I 19, I'm 1887. Thank you, Queen. Thank you so much.
I'm not disrespecting the elder. I'll just correct
Oh,
you.
no.
I'm making
Absolutely. That
not
you did
correct.
exactly what you were supposed to do. 1887, when
Thank
he
you.
came to us. You know, he came to us in the place called Jamaica, but he came to the earth from somewhere. We're matter, we're energy. And so that matter and energy can only proceed from one place, and that is the divine that we call Jah, and by other names, Oludumare, Vudun, and many other names we use to describe that force. But he came into a world that was extraordinary. British colonialism, the building of the Panama Canal, the genocide and tyranny our people who were working in Panama had to go through, the tyranny of both the Spanish and the English in Central America that had our people living in poverty and suffering, a place he went to very early in his life. He was about 15, 16 years old. Also, when he goes down there, going to Europe and seeing the Africans who were fleeing their own colonial lands and coming to the UK looking for more freedom. And then he returned back to Jamaica in 1914. And with his comrades, they decided, we're going to do something. We're going to change the world because it's necessary, because of what he saw his people suffering. And he had not yet come to the United States, but he would meet something when he came here after 1914, after establishing the UNIA, after establishing an organization that would take on the world, and the African community leagues developing a military arm. The first thing they did is realize that if you create a movement, you got to protect it. And we still don't get that today. That's why we've lost so many leaders. That's why we've been destroyed when we tried to make movements. We're not studying what the Honorable Marcus Garvey did. We need to study, not just praise the name, but study the work, the method, the ideas.
True.
When he came to America, what he met here was the Ku Klux Klan at its height. What he met here, we know the Klan, that was just one of the terrorist organizations in this country at that time, murdering thousands of our people per year through lynchings and burnings, destroying hundreds of our cities. Black Wall Street and Tulsa was not the only one. That was one of
True.
50 of our cities that was burnt to the ground, and we were ran out like dogs in the middle of the night across America. That's what he stepped into when he came to the United States. And he had made friend with a man who a lot of people don't want to put them together. But you can't look at history without looking at his relationship to Mr. Booker T. Washington. Tony, who was a good friend and comrade, Dr. Martin, writes about that relationship. And some others have written about that relationship. But I was a friend of Booker T. Washington's grandson who served with me in Malcolm X's OAAU. And before the Schomburg got the letters between the Honorable Marcus Garvey and Booker T. Washington, I got to read them in his basement for months and months when no one else knew those letters existed. As those two men tried to look at how do we go forward. And one of the things he wanted to do is come to America and team up with Washington. But the enemy made sure that didn't happen. 4 months before he arrived in America, Booker T. Washington mysteriously died.
Yes.
No one calls it murder. I do. They did not want him
Yes.
and Garvey to team up. So they killed him. They invited him to a meeting in New York under the guise that broke up peace between him and Monroe Trotter. He fell sick at the big dinner they held, and he never recovered. And he died on a train trying to make it back to Tuskegee when the train pulled into the station at Baltimore, Maryland. If you ask the world, where did Mr. Booker die? No one could tell you because we don't pay attention to our heroes.
Yes.
We don't listen to them. We got to listen to them. What you see so beautifully done by the UNIA is putting in context economic, politics, and culture. Look, you got to look at it. He puts the Negro Factory Corporation, one of the first things they do. The Black Star Line, both cargo shipping and passenger lines. He put into place a chain of restaurants. He put into place grocery stores. This is the UNIA under leadership of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. He put into place laundries, hotels, and the printing press. In short, he was creating the blueprint for a nation right there in Harlem. And the enemy panicked. They panicked because they realized that if he imports this to Africa, if he imports this across the Black American community, if he imports this back to the Caribbean and to Central South America, the imperialist world would be in big trouble. We still think imperialism has disappeared or gone away somewhere. It hasn't gone anywhere. It's taken on new robes and new faces.
Mm-hmm.
But what Garvey brought to us is a blueprint, and we need to study the blueprint. At the foundation of the blueprint was economics. The wealth that you find in your environment and your ecology. How do you harvest that wealth for yourself and your people? How do you organize that wealth into enterprises, corporations, and businesses so that you can employ, train, skilled, and tool your people to expand in the world? That's what he was doing. He didn't run around with a gun shooting at anybody. See, the West has fooled us and think the only way politics can happen is if you've got a gun, then he'll give you his most inferior weapon to come up against his most superior weapons. And we go,
Mm-hmm.
oops. But that's not what our master taught us. He said, master economics, master politics, and restore your culture and your spiritual system. Then you can build an African nation. The closest we are seeing of that today are the 3 states in the Sahel. They're following the Garvey blueprint, almost to a T. Burkina Faso, Niger, and Mali. And so we've got to study, what did he tell us to do? What did he ask of us? You can say, yes, he was a great man, he did wonderful things, and he was our hero, but what did he ask us to do? And are we doing what he asked us to do? And I say no, not enough of us are doing what he asked us to do. He told us that to be free, you've got to feed yourself. He told us to be free, you got to clothe yourself. He told us to be free, you must house yourself. He told us to be free, you must protect yourself. He made it clear that true freedom was to be shackled to your African identity. To be shackled to that identity. We've got foolish people now in America and other places trying to say we're not even Africans. And we can argue about the word, and I will win the argument on the word because I know the etymology of the word Africa comes from Africa. It doesn't come from the Romans or anybody else. They may have written about it the first time when we see it in writing, but it didn't come from them. But that's another discussion. But our ancestor knew something we don't know. He knew we were Africans, and we had to claim that, own that, rebuild that as nations on the foundations of economic, politics, and culture. And so we have to make sure that we're paying attention to the instructions and to the examples and the models he left behind for us. And he didn't tell us to set up a black shipping line to become partners with the American and British and Italian mafia who owns much of the shipping lines in the world. He told us to set up an African shipping line that was owned and controlled by Africans for Africans. When we talk about the communities we live in, he didn't tell us to set up housing that was owned by the bankers that have been our oppressors from slavery days till now. He told us to set up housing where we own the real estate. And we own the construction company that built the housing. And we own the supply store that supply the construction company that built the housing. And we are the laborers on the project that build the housing. They set that as a model and an example of what being free and being black was. And it isn't trying to fit in with our murderers. It isn't trying to become a part of imperialism while pretending we were against colonialism and imperialism. Our world, according to Garvey, is to be in opposition to imperialism, to be in opposition to colonialism, to be in opposition to slavery. And you can't do that without being self-reliant and self-sufficient.
Sure.
And so we have many nations now that have thrown off the cloak of colonialism politically, and not even politically, but at least pretensive politically. But we don't see but very few out of the 60-something in the Caribbean and Africa that we have. There's less than 10 that I can say is trying to go towards a Garvey model, where we are self-reliant, self-sufficient, not in debt to the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, Chase Manhattan and Citi, and all these other corporate raiders that control the economy of our countries so that they can steal the resources of our land and have us thinking poverty is a normalcy for African people. We live on the richest piece of real estate in the world and we still impoverished. We live on the richest piece of real estate in the world and we're losing thousands and thousands of people drowning in the Mediterranean, dying in the Sahara Desert, trying to go to find jobs as beggars in Europe. And when we talk about Garvey, if we don't mention these things, we're not talking about Garvey. You know, we're not talking about Garvey. He was a teenager. Look at the man. This man was a teenager when these ideas came to his head. He only had a few years to formulate them before the enemy attacked. And the J. Edgar Hoover and the FBI and the U.S. State Department, they knew he committed no crime, but they had to falsify a crime. They only had one envelope, one stamp. And when Coolidge commuted his sentence, they knew they should have never put him in jail or never arrested him in the first place. That's how embarrassing it was to them that he had to make the commutation, but then ask him to leave America. So the fight that brought Joe Biden to give a pardon wasn't a favor from Joe Biden. That was true justice that should have happened way back in in the 1920s. But we have to make sure that we're doing what he asked us to do. We can praise the brother all we want. We can say, oh, great ancestors, you was wonderful. You did all these great things. But we got to ask ourselves the question, how do we continue the work he begun? How do we continue the work he begun in the communities we live in? How do we get control of the economics, the politics, and the culture where we live? How do we bring back and reinstitute African sacred science and spirituality in our own behavior, in our families, and in our communities without apologizing to anyone? You know, we come apologizing for being Rastas. We apologize for being Voodoos. We apologize for being Yoruba. We apologize for being Akan. We apologize to whom? We gave them what became Christianity and they ruined it. We gave them what became Islam and they ruined it. We gave them what they're falsely practicing and calling Judaism and they ruined it. History can show that we gave them those ways of making themselves human and living as human beings, and they turned it into tyranny against themselves and us. So we don't owe apologies to no one on the planet Earth. We owe our ancestors to listen to them. The brothers presented so many photographs of the beautiful ancestors that came and sacrificed their life for us, and Ivan Van Sertima, Walter Rodney, Dr. Ben, Queen Mother Moore, Francis Welsing. I knew all of those people personally. They were sincere. They all suffered because they did not join the system. They fought that system, and the system said, well, we will make you suffer economically, or we will make you suffer politically. And they said, that's cool, because I'm fighting for freedom. Now we need to listen to them. We need to listen. What is the instructions that the Honorable Messiah Marcus Garvey left for us? Now, Amy Jacques, in her book, outlines a lot of it for us. His son Julius, who I also know very well, Julius brought me on my first trip to Jamaica, and there was some strife going on in the mountains between our Rasta community. And he told me, James, I need you to go up there with me. We got to bring some peace and settle this fight that's going on. It was a rough fight, too, but we settled it. And Julius pulled me in there, and I was a scared young American black, didn't know what to do. But after dancing Nyabingi at every church up there, I knew who I was. Had come home to sit with brothers and sisters to talk about how do we use the African methodology to settle our differences, right? And it works. Garvey said we are Africans. Well, Africa isn't just a label. Africa is a way of seeing the universe. It is a worldview that comes from our ancestors before we met the white man. We've got to get back to that worldview. How did we see the world? What did we know about cosmology and ecology before the devil came into our space? We got to go back there in our minds and with our bodies. I see one of my young brothers, Brother Eddie Caldwell out of Miami. He just came back from heaven. We were over in Ghana together. And I watched him glow and glow and glow. So, Brother Eddie, just being home with our people and learning about our culture, it turns on a light. And Garvey brought that light to us, and we've allowed the light to dim. You've got to turn the light back on. What was the light that Garvey brought to America that he then carried to all of the world? That light was that we are all Africans. And that's not just a label. When we study Ethiopia, when we study the ancient Kush Empire, when we study the ancient Kemetic Empire, the Mali Empire, the Songhai Empire, the Congo Empire, the Angola, when we study all of those kingdoms and empire, we see the model that he was trying to reinstitute in modern times.
True.
And so we've got to pay attention to what was his instructions to us. Yes, we love you, Father. We admire you, great Father. But what was your instructions? What do you want me to do now? Get control of the economics? Get control of the politics? Bring the African culture back into where you live. Reestablish African sacred science? kick European religion out of our space, bring our ancestors to stand beside God itself, because when God first decided to be human, it became a black woman, and she gave birth to the rest of us. That's our history. That's our cultural story. And we need to relearn it. But we must make sure that we control the economics, politics, and culture where we live. Look at Garvey's work. That's the first thing he does. He established factories, he established stores, he established laundries, he established restaurants, he established hotels, he established all of the things that people need to control their economic, political, and cultural life in any community they live in, anywhere in the world. So we've got to listen to his instructions, study his blueprint, learn the history of their experience in building what the UNIA built, and then try to replicate it, then modernize it. See? We've got to bring everything into a modern context without losing the African indigenous essence in terms of principles, concepts, and ideas. The principles, concepts, and ideas that undergird anything we do must be African, or we won't be successful. We've got billionaires, we got millionaires, and they may as well not be there. All over Africa, all over America, all over the Caribbean, we've got all these rich people, and they're all living like white people. And most running away from their own black people to hide in little enclaves with white people. That's not what Garvey was trying to tell us to do with wealth. Wealth was supposed to be amassed for the purpose of distributing to building communities that will uplift a whole people. So we have to follow his instructions. That's the best message I can give today. Follow his example. Be like him. Be like Garvey in character. Be like Garvey in behavior. Be like Garvey in dedication. Be like Garvey in consistency. Be like Garvey in how he loved his people. With the skills and the brain power he had, he could have ran off and been a Negro millionaire, and I'm sure white folks was offering that pathway. But he didn't abandon us. He gave his life for us, died a young man, because he said, before I'll abandon you, I'll give my life back to the divine, to Jah, from which I came. So we have to take it seriously. For me, the only life I've ever, and I can't remember, since I was doing this since I was a teen, the only life I've ever wanted was to be like the black men and women who fought for us before me. That's all I ever wanted.
True.
And even at 81, I'm still looking up to those who went before me. That's all I want. To be free is to be shackled to my African identity. To shackle myself to my African identity, I must shackle myself to the rightful ancestors. And Garvey is one of the most rightful ancestors we have. We need to shackle ourselves to his ideas, shackle ourselves to his principles, shackle ourselves to his concepts, shackle ourselves to his example and his model. And listen to his blueprint. What did he do? He opened factories. He built ship line. He opened restaurants. He opened grocery stores. He opened laundries. He opened hotels. He opened printed press. If that's what he did and we said we love him, then we got to start doing those things again for the community we live in. We got to get control of the economic, politics, and culture where we live. That means we got to get control of the land and be in charge of the labor and the resources where we live. Then we will be honoring Garvey. Then we will be respecting Garvey, because that's what he did. He scared the mightiest white empires in the world. They were afraid that he in a short time would bring them to his knees, so they arrested him. and they watched him and surveilled him for the rest of his life. They infiltrated his organization. They caused confusion and division, both here in America and in the UK and in Jamaica. And even today, they're afraid of his ideas. They're afraid of us truly understanding and listening to what he was saying to us. We need to listen today even better than they did in the 1920s. Look at what he did. He landed in America in what? 1916. Between 1916 and 1922, look at what the man accomplished. He organized millions of Africans around the world. In almost every location where there's a country in Africa today, millions of people in Central, South America, the Caribbean, millions across America. Nobody has done it since. No one has done it since because no one has come with the love that Garvey brought to the table. That's a piece we don't talk about enough. He brought a love to the table for African people and African things. He brought an understanding. He saw the sorrow. He went to Central South America. He saw the suffering. He came to the United States. He saw the suffering. He had been to Britain. He saw the suffering. He had lived in the islands. He saw the suffering. And he decided, let's get together and come up with a methodology to resolve the contradiction that produced the suffering. And his resolution was control economic, politics, and culture where you live. If you don't do that at the most fundamental level, you're not going to know freedom. The second part was to be shackled to your identity as an African person. No matter where you are in the world, you're an African. Those things he made clear. Those things we can do. We are doing those things, but for other ethnic groups, for other racial groups. We got to do those things for ourselves. We've got the land, we've got the nations, we've got the wealth in the ground. Let's figure out how we're going to control that. That's why we have to pay attention to what's happening in Burkina Faso. Pay attention to what's happening in Mali. Pay attention to what's happening in Niger. And I was happy to see the other day where Ghana signed a defense pact with Burkina Faso. That if anybody attacked one, they attack both. That's a big step for Ghana. I would love to see Ghana move economically, and they're doing a lot of economic things together. I mean, they've set up a protection, they've signed a treaty to protect against terrorists trying to interfere with the movement of their commerce from one country to another. So those are the kinds of thinking things African people must do. That's moving towards the Garvey model. Because the Garvey model, control economic, politics, and culture where you live. That's the Garvey model. Control land, labor, and resources where you live. That's the Garvey model. Be shackled to your African identity as your true freedom. That's the Garvey model. And at the core of all of that is African spirituality, African sacred science. And that comes from studying our history. History erases the mystery. Study the history of the ancestors so we can hear what they're telling us to do. That's the reason for, remember, history is what? The experiences of your ancestors. In that experience, you're getting your instructions. Study the history of the ancestors so we can hear the instructions. What are they telling us we should be doing? I don't care nothing but no white man. I don't care nothing but no yellow man. And I don't care nothing but the Arab, Asiatic, brown man. They've proven their relationship to us, and none of them have given us good relationships over these centuries. All of them have practiced genocide against us. And I don't need an apology. That doesn't change history. What I need is to return to the African essence of myself, to do what Garvey and others that followed him, but especially him, told us to do. Control the economics. What is economics? It's the wealth that's found in your environment. Control the politics. What is the politics? The management system for your wealth. control the culture. What is the culture? The culture is the education system that express your values, your interests, and your principles to make the kind of human being you want to see going forward in life. Now study Garvey and you see he did all of those things. And he told us to do those things. And if we're going to celebrate him today and really honor him today the way we should honor him, that we have to be clear that we're going to do as he did and do as he said we should do. You know, they said imitation is the greatest flattery. Well, let me imitate the Master Messiah, Marcus Garvey. Let me imitate the great ancestor. Let me try to do what he tried to do and did accomplish to a great degree. A lot of what you see in the African world and in the world of North America and the Caribbean today had its foundation under Garvey and the UNIA, the economic things we see, the political movements we see, those liberation movements we saw, the Pan-African movement as it began to manifest. Garvey threw that fireball. And somebody listened then. Jomo Kenyatta listened. Kwame Nkrumah listened. Ezekwe listened. You see, Emekal Cabral listened. Samori Michel listened. And they freed their nations. But the enemy came back. And we dropped the ball because we forgot Garvey's instruction. Control the economics, the politics, and the culture where you live. Be in charge of the land, the labor, and the resources in the land where you live. He not only told us that, he demonstrated it by building the things that he built. What better model of a teaching than the demonstration in fact? The Black Star Line was in fact before it was attacked by the Americans. His factories were in fact. The stores were in fact. The restaurants were in fact. You see, studying African history, the Black Studies movement that we know today had its genesis there. So that's my message. My message is, let's listen to the masters. Let's follow his instructions. Let's follow his example. And that is the best way to show our reverence for and our celebration of. Thank you very much.
Baba, I have a question. I want
Yes,
to show you. As you spoke earlier, I wanted you to finish, but as you were speaking, my mind drifted to Ghana presently under Dramani Mahama and the whole reparation initiative. What's your take on what's happening within that whole initiative at the moment? You know,
right. Remember,
Go
we
ahead.
may see Brother Muhammad being the point person, but remember, he cleared all of that with the African Union and most of the Caribbean nation before he even made that move. So it's not just him. He's acting as the point person for a Caribbean and African collective. And I think what the move has done is let Europe know there's no backdoor way out of paying reparations, whether it's the CARICOM, to blacks in the United States, to blacks in Brazil, or the whole continent of Africa. There's no backdoor they can slip out of because we are all coming together now saying, you committed a crime against us. The crime is the greatest crime in the history of the world. It is a genocide that is still going on. And we not only want to be reparated for, we want it to be repaired. And in order to get repaired, there's a number of things that has to be done. And so they're now sitting down as a Caribbean and African collective outlining what are those things going to be that we expect from Europe and America in order to compensate us so that we can rebuild economically, politically, and culturally for our people in a way that we don't have to go to Europe for medicine. We don't have to import processed food from Europe. We don't have to import cars and tractors from anywhere, Asia or Europe. We can build our own airplanes like we used to do in Ethiopia and other places. We can do those things if you pay us what you owe us. We can do those things if you just get the hell out of our country, get out of the way, take the World Bank, International Monetary Fund, and all of those overrated loans and interest rates you've put on them, take them all back. We don't want them. We're not going to pay them. That's the first step in our reparations. So I think what Muhammad did in representing both the African Union and CARICOM when he went before the UN was monumental because he put it on the table in a way that's never been put on the table before the entire world. And despite Argentina and America and Israel, most of the world voted with Africa. So I'm not going to pay attention to those few genocidal demons or the demon rats that didn't vote with us. I'm going to look at most of the world, the overwhelming majority of the world, say, Africa, you're right, and we got your back. And whether they have our backs or not, we're going forward because we got our backs. Africa got the back of the Caribbean got the back of Africa, Black America have the back of Brazil have the back of Colombia. You know, Brazil have the largest Black population outside of Africa, second only to Nigeria, then the African Americans, then the Colombian. And most people don't know Colombia, we let our people suffer there because we don't realize how many of them are there suffering. That's why
Yes.
history erases the mystery. Then we go through the Caribbean islands and say we want to take off the shackle of the kings and the queens and the international banking cartels and the Zionist mafia cartels that's running our countries. And we can find them by simply looking at their family names. When you look at the name of the families that's running the corporation and the banks and the nations we live in, you know exactly what religious group they belong to and what banking system is backing them. You know, and we can't be afraid. The secret to life is to have no fear. You know, we said, Jah Rastafari, we gotta mean it. We can't be afraid of nothing, nobody on this earth. We are the
That brings me
divine having the human experience.
that brings me to the next question. What is the greatest challenge you see ahead for us, within that whole context?
That is the greatest thing right now is the education of our young people. We've allowed the tools, social media is a beautiful tool, but we've allowed the enemy to control the use of it as it reaches our children instead of us controlling the use of it in terms of how this new tool is used to reach our children. And the tool must be used to instruct and inform our children foremost of their history, their culture, and their identity. Because you can have all the money and all the job and all these positions, and it won't mean nothing if you don't have an identity. If you don't have a collective body that you're a part of, that you're moving with like an ocean, a stream, you know? So educating our population, the youth being primary. And the enemy showed us when they brought now we brought hip hop into being, but the enemy took it over and used it like a razor and chopped us up for nearly 50 years and got us praising the poison. No, a cup is a cup, but what goes in it determines what you get out of it. You understand? Hip hop is a cup that our kids invented for themselves to try and help free themselves from white mental tyranny. And then they brought their money and their power and they took the cup and put their poison in there and made us drink. And we're too ashamed to call it what it is and what it was. Just look at all the dead young recording artists who went against them over that 50-year period and see how many of them never made it to 50 years old and ask yourself why. Look at Bob. Look at Peter. Look at Tupac. Look at Sam Cooke. Just look down the list. Somebody did that to us. Somebody who did not want the education of the African mind to take place. Because music and culture's primary job is to educate the mind. Right? And so we're at war. And we must never forget that. We're at war. And we must act like warriors. We must study war. Study the history of war. Study the war that we find ourselves in. Study the history of the war that we're in. And then give a response. based on that understanding that we've achieved through that study. And when we look at the history of our people, we know exactly where to strike and who to strike and how to strike. And it doesn't have to
Great.
always be physical. We must rely on restoring our mental, our psycho-spiritual, and our sacred science foundation information in order to instruct and inform ourselves.
As you say that now, that brings me now to another question. Where does religion fit in all of this?
If the religion didn't come from an African historical ancient source, throw it in the garbage can where it belongs. Simple as
Repeat that. Repeat that, Baba. Repeat that.
If a religion that we are practicing did not come in the form that our ancestors left for us from an ancient African tradition, throw it in the garbage, because it is the front line, it is the forward line of imperialism. Religion has proven to be, both Islam and Christianity and Judaism has proven to be the best frontline weapon of the imperialists and the colonialists and the murderers and the genociders of our people. I'm tired of waiting for the next generation. I'll come back when this body is done, and I'll come back again, even more fierce and more ready, because I'm tired of it. And we must end it, no matter how many generations it's going to take for us to do it. But we've got to be clear. If we're not instructed and informed spiritually by systems of sacred science that our ancestors brought forward, then we should start running away as fast as we can.
Ashe. Great answer. Yes, yes. Yeah, that's a great answer, Baba. Because we are looking at our people right now in Jamaica. There is more churches per square mile than any other island around.
Right. But we can't blame the victims now. We got to understand that they've been victimized, right? We know that Christianity, Judaism, and Islam all evolved from an African model, but it has been plagiarized. It has been, what's that other word? It has been filtherized. It's been turned into a filthy imperialist death machine. And it didn't start in 1492. For 1,500 years before 1492, since the 600, Islam had been raiding all over Africa, enslaving up to 18 million of our people, slaughtering most of the men with castrations. You understand? We got to know history. Judaism, when we gave that to try to help the mixed breed that had got caught up by the Hittites and the Hyksos when they invaded North Africa, they chose not to run southwards toward the Liberation Force, who was coming to take Kemet back. They ran northeastwards with the enemy. Got to study history, it'll tell you the truth. If the Hebrews had ran south, I'd say right on. But if my liberating army and my brothers and sisters is coming from the south, what am I doing running to the north? Unless I'm moving with the collaborators. And you took what you took out of Kemet, the sacred science of ancient Kemet, you bastardize it into what you're now calling your Judaism. Then we come again and try to help and reorganize and give you what you call Christianity. And Rome took that and bastardized it and put it into Europe, and it got even more bastardized. And then they forced that down our throats doing slavery. And it has caused more psychological problem than anything in the history of mankind. And Islam is no better. And I can speak on it. I'm an imam. I went to Mecca. I'm al-Hajj Amin Ash-Shahid. I can Bismillah Rahman Rahim better than anybody. I know the history. I know the culture. Malcolm took what was there, but he never lived long enough to realize he didn't need that once he found Africa again. And I think that's what many of them was afraid of, because I'm convinced that the Islamic world did a thumbs down to the Americans, says it's all right to kill him. I'm convinced. And I'm his successor. I took over his mosque after his death at age 21. So what I'm saying is my grandmother, who raised me on a plantation in South Carolina, was a indigenous priest. You call her Nobia woman, we call her root woman. And she taught me that Africa comes first. We had our medicine, we had our philosophy, we had our worldview. And throughout the southern United States, and even across the north as we moved out of the south, we've taken that with us, even though people have tried to beat us down and put us down and call us all kinds of names, but we know that the things they fear most is the things that are African in us.
True.
I don't want to be nothing else. I'm trying every day to be more African, to learn more about how to be African, because when I learn how to be African, I will learn how to be God again.
Ashe. Ashe. We'll take this moment as we're winding up to open up the platform to a few questions. We don't want to belabor Baba much, but while we have you in our midst, we're gonna pick your mind as much as we can. Are there any questions for the Honorable?
Know some of my godchildren are here, and some of my ears from our Yoruba tradition is here. Don't be afraid. Ask questions.
Council of Elders, you can ask questions.
Yes,
Priest
hello,
Brown.
my lord. Yes, love.
Priest
Yes,
Brown.
Ms. Brown, the floor is yours.
Love my lord and empress.
Blessed one, Honorable. Go ahead. Go ahead with the question.
Firstly, I will give thanks for the Council of Elders bringing on such a positively inspiring guest. Give thanks for, I will give you the honor. I don't hope you don't mind, Right Honorable James Small, for your excellent presentation. It was quite reviving. I must first apologize to my fellow brethren and sisters for the late coming on because I was listening to some of the speeches of the right Honorable Marcus Garvey and somewhat got caught up in them. You know, my lord,
Yes, Lord.
Could
Give,
you
give me a
come a
question.
little, could you come a little closer to the mic, Priest Brown?
Yeah.
okay, I don't have a question today, my lord, because to what I've heard from the honorable speaker, it has revived my whole life because as I share with ones, I became because of the confusion of religion at a young age. I started to just live by nature, and it was the teachings or the words of the right honorable Marcus Garvey when he was made national hero that made the similar said Marcus Garvey are the first God me praise, and him lead me to His Majesty and King Emmanuel. Cut it short. So, and I give thanks for the inspiration. And what I might say, it might be somewhat blunt, but it's the reality. I've been exposed to two of the leading movements within the Rastafari community concerning taking up the work of Marcus Messiah Garvey. But what I have seen lacking from ever early and yet fail to put in practices is that we have yet to fundamentally put in practices the teachings of the right Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. So
Yeah.
give thanks for the reviving, my Lord and Empress. Heart of love.
Give thanks to Honorable.
Thank you,
Anyone else
sister.
have a question?
But let's reiterate what she's saying, that we must revive the teachings of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. That's what I'm saying. Or we must listen to his instructions, follow his examples.
We get that clearly. That you have made that very clear, Baba, and we give thanks for that because that has been one of Rastafari's message to the people. Not just to revere the man, but to understand his instructions, as you have said. So we give thanks for the reiteration of that message, knowing that it's not just I, Rastafari from Jamaica, who has seen that as the reality of our development. You, our esteemed brother right there in the US have seen the same thing. So again, the floor is open. Any questions for our guest speaker?
One second. We have 3 hands up, and we also have a question in the chat.
Okay.
A sister by the name of Rashida. She says, Marcus Garvey in Ethiopia when Italy invaded them and left his people to die there. What are your thoughts on that?
Repeat that. I
Yeah.
maybe it's just me. You cut out. Repeat that for us, please.
Okay, yes, it's a question that's in the chat.
Yes.
Marcus Garvey called Haile Selassie a coward for fleeing Ethiopia when Italy invaded them and left his people to die. What are your thoughts on that?
Well,
Before I turn it to Baba,
yeah,
let me let you. Go ahead, Baba. Take it.
yes.
Run with it.
That's why I said it's important to study history. Even at that time, uh, the Honorable Marcus Garvey had to react to the moment. But when you study history, Selassie's leaving home allowed him to get the resources to come back with his allyship with the British and others and destroy the Italians. Had he stayed home and had he killed him, had they taken over the leadership, the
The
symbol of
revolution.
leadership of that nation, we would have probably still had the Germans or the Italians in our way and in our place. I think it was the only political move he could make under the circumstances of the moment. And when we see the diplomacy that he carried out when he went away, it is that diplomacy that allowed them to get the ammunitions and the guns and the resources necessary and the finance to combat the Italians and in the end be successful in helping the Allies destroy them.
Yes, I. And we must look at also the context of Garvey. You know, how he was viewing the situation at the time. If we
Mm,
listen to his quote, we tend to always just highlight the little controversial statement and not the whole speech, his whole representation of that moment.
mm,
Garvey saw that moment. You know, he saw his thing was that if the emperor stayed, people, black people, African people, people of African descent from the four corners of the earth would have rallied to his side to fight for Africa. That was his viewpoint.
right.
Now, as you rightly said, Baba, if we look at the end result, the emperor made the right decision because of the outcome. But
Let
on
me
the
add
other level,
something to that. As he
go
had
ahead.
wished, and he helped to organize many thousands of our people from the Caribbean and the United States volunteered to go fight. And the United States and the Britain blocked them and wouldn't let them leave. You couldn't leave
Exactly.
Jamaica to go. You couldn't leave America to go. So the emperor made the best choice because you had war. And war, you're going to make some
Yes,
strange decisions because you're going to have
yes.
to make some strange bedfellows. And so he made the choice that allowed Ethiopia to be one of the freest nation in Africa throughout the history of Africa.
So it was different opinions on the approach of what should have been done. But at the end of the day, what I and I always refer to, Baba, is that when the emperor finally got a chance to visit Jamaica in 1966 on April 21st, the
Mhm,
first place he went was Heroes Park and he laid a wreath at Garvey's shrine,
mhm.
showing that there was no animosity
Oh no.
among the heroes.
He was the emperor. He wasn't just a man named the emperor. He was
He
the
was
emperor,
the
and his
empire.
decision wasn't just his. He had elders, he had council of elders, he had advisors, he had an empress. Everybody made a decision on what had to be done. To capture the emperor, you would have captured the nation, the soul of the nation. You can't allow for that to happen in war.
Yes,
Study war.
Rastafari.
And
yes.
before we go, we have several hands up. One more from the chat. Where is it? Other than engaging in our own research, is there a concise online course or African Kemetic Mystery School that one can enroll in that you can recommend? And that's from Cindy Almeida.
I don't know specific. There's one young man, Dr. Greg Carr, out of Howard University. And Dr. Greg Carr, and I think you can just use his name, C-A-R-R, Dr. Greg Carr, has a weekly course that I think is one of the best in the country. I know there are others, but I know Greg. I know his background, watched him grow from a teenager, really, and he's become an extraordinary professor on both the Kemetic system and others. But let me tell my brothers and sisters something, because sometimes we like to think the white man took everything from us. He did not.
Mm.
He did not. When I remember the day I came to the mountains of Jamaica, I had just left Ghana. I didn't even tell my wife where I was going. I made her think I was still in Ghana. And I landed Kennedy and got off one plane and got with Julius and jumped on another plane. And when I walked into the mountains of Jamaica, I did not know I was not still in Ghana. That's how African the community is. That's how African consistency and continuity that community is then and is now, because I've been back to Jamaica multiple times. So we have to realize one of the things in that question you asked, they are secret societies. They are orders of the leopards that never disappeared. But it is not something one can just walk into. You got to be pulled into.
Hmm.
But they still exist. There's still forces fighting against imperialism and colonialism and neocolonialism from the old spaces and bases.
Yeah.
We didn't die. We still exist. But Greg Carr would be a good avenue to begin your study online, because I know, and just look up Dr. Greg Carr and
Thank you.
Google him, and you will find his platform.
Give thanks, Baba.
Yes, she says
Empress, who
thank
is
you for the
first?
clarity.
Who is next?
Empress Dion.
Blessed love, royal family. Honorable Dr.
A little
James.
louder.
I would just like to jump in right where you left off on Marcus Garvey and ask, what do you think is the most important aspect of Marcus Garvey's legacy?
I think yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am, Empress. I think his continuity, his consistency, his dedication, he never gave up. He never quit. He went to the ancestors, still trying to bring into being the fundamental principles of the UNIA. He was trying to do it both back in the Caribbean and Jamaica, where his primary base had become after he left America, and in the UK, where he saw his last breath. And so to the day he died, he never quit. He never gave up. He never changed his principles. He never changed his course. Africa for Africans at home and abroad. He made that statement, but that statement was how he lived his life in the movement.
That's the part.
Priest Germain.
Honorable Priest Jermaine, the floor is yours.
Give thanks, family. Majesty, give thanks. Only Manuelite, Selassie Jah, Rastafari. Yes, Baba Heru, Baba James Small, do give thanks for even coming forward today and giving such a splendid and educational, information, to I, the nation of people, I want to
Thank you.
say I first
Thank you, Bob.
encountered you at Nicholas Bookstore.
Oh, yes.
You and Brother Kaba had a
Mhm.
lecture there, and that was the first time, I encountered you there. And one of the things that you highlighted at that lecture was, and that you did highlight here, same way too, was that, we are God in flesh,
Mhm.
and, we as Bobo Shanti members, have been speaking this. We are actually one of the only Rastafari set that actually deify Marcus Messiah Garvey and say that he is God. You know what I mean? And like I say, we have been doing this for eons, from since back in the early 1900s, and it's only now when ones and ones coming to the realization that man of right is God in flesh, woman of right is goddess in flesh. So I want to just give thanks for you today, even further highlighting that, and bringing that even realization to us as a people. Give thanks, my Lord.
Let me make a
Blessings.
comment on that because that's not a me, brother Small thing. That is the fundamental cultural interpretation of African sacred science.
Yes.
Whether it's in the South Africa, the Central Africa, the East Africa, or Western Africa, all of them see themselves. If you look in all of the Bantu languages, the word for person, people, place, or thing has as its prefix or suffix the word for God, which says that God is in everything. And in all of our African ancient philosophy, it says that we are an expression of an
Oh,
aspect of the divine essence having the human experience. That's the foundation for African theology, the very
yes,
foundation.
yes, yes. Who is next, Royal Empress?
Honorable Priest Ainsley.
Royal Chair.
Majesty,
This is the chair.
Majesty
This is the
bless
chair of
my
the house.
Lord, Empress.
Yes, sir.
And the Baba Small Job, may I be a smile, me feel like a little child at your feet there. I could just sit down and hear you talk. But is a viewpoint I'm asking of you. Did I hear me?
Yes, sir. Yeah, man. Go ahead.
Alright. It's a viewpoint. Now, we as Rastafari, we say repatriation. We want to go forward home. And so we kind of tend to just penetrate to reach home, which a lot of us ain't really penetrating our sustainability when we reach home. And I hear you say one of the key foundation is economics, politics, culture. What advice we are here want to go to the land,
Mhm.
but what advice do you give to us to say build our economical? Because it's somehow some of us feel we shouldn't accumulate nothing down here in the West. We should just leave and just reach Africa and try accumulate there. I have an opinion where I say we need to establish a trade. We who are there and who are there and can
You're
start
breaking up.
build something.
You're breaking up.
Yeah, I think I have the essence of the
Of
question.
what? Yes, sir.
And you have to do both. We have earned this land in the West. We have died by the millions and suffered the world's greatest genocide. We own this land. And they were those of us who was here before the ships brought us here. And we've amalgamated into one African people worldwide. I'm not giving the European anything. Let him go back to the ice and get out of my way. I'm going to own Jamaica and I'm going to own Africa. I'm going to own Puerto Rico and I'm going to own Africa. I'm going to own Brazil and we have earned it. Our blood have spilled to grow the wealth that exists in it. But in a more nuclear, practical thing, because I have business in Ghana and a home in Ghana, and there are thousands of Jamaicans in Ghana who have built magnificent community and homes in Ghana. But what's beautiful is they keep the linkages to Jamaica. You don't cut that. That's a part of our growth, even though it was done under duress. We've earned that. Our blood grew those land into what they are today. They belong to us. But Africa belongs to us with all of its wealth also. We never gave it up. We didn't run away from there. We were taken away from there. So build and plan well if you want to move. I tell anyone who wants to move, move. But plan well. Study the economic base, study the social base, study the medical structure, and all of these things. So when you choose the nation you want to go and visit and see if you can settle, have some resources that fits what you're going to meet when you get there.
Yes, sir.
Mama
Royal Empress.
Lily, Empress Lilime.
This is one of our Queen Mothers, Baba, who resides in Ethiopia, who repatriated some years back, maybe
Yes.
about a decade ago. She Mama Lily, the floor is yours.
Blessed is the love, holy the love. It's a celebration.
It is.
A celebration. Man of integrity. We all must unite now. No one remember old Marcus Garvey. Be the Bobo Shanti, you know. Children, we remember Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey. And we give thanks for our brother, Honorable Baba Smalls. I told my people that we are having our international guest on our platform tonight. Elders Councils, EABIC Elder Council, and the EABIC Women Freedom Liberation League. I am a representative of the Women's Freedom Liberation League now for 51 years. I am a warrior, my lord.
Yes. Yes.
Panther from my 17. I never, never give up. Palm Greer, not Palm Greer. What her daughter name? Priest Savannah. I always talking about her with the the Black Panther.
Yes.
Who stood up.
Angela Davis and Angela Davis.
My sister. Yes, that was my inspiration at 17 years old to be a Black Panther. I grew my big afro, and from that, I never put down my militancy, I stood up where I go. I stood up for my rights, and I
yes, Mama.
and glorify, spoke highly of the eye. A lot of people said that they was gonna tune in just to hear the eye tonight, my Lord. And I give thanks and glorify. I know there's a lot of speakers on, but I could talk on and on about Mr. Garvey, because every day I listen to his philosophy and opinions on my boombox,
Yes.
And he say, black, talk black, walk black, Black supremacy. Manuel Charles Edwards say, Marcus Mosiah Garvey is the Black international hero.
Yes, he's a universal hero. He is the Messiah. Study the word Messiah in the English language and the Hebrew language. Study that word in any language you want, and you will see he fits the prototype.
Yes.
It is not a contradiction to call him a Messiah for his people, because that is exactly what he was and still is. And we can't let other people have a monopoly on how the universe works. We have to say how we want the universe to work for us and how it has worked for us. When someone comes and do what the Honorable Marcus Garvey has done for us, then he fits the model of a Messiah. And we're supposed to back up. Don't dare back up from that.
Yes,
he is our Messiah.
Give thanks. Give thanks. We also have a sister. She had a question posted in the platform, but she is online. Afayomi, I'm sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, Stanton.
Greetings. Yes, Ifayomi Stanton is my name. Greetings to all, and happy Black August to everyone. Alafia, Baba, Small, how you doing?
This
was an amazing, likewise, Baba. This was an amazing event. I'm glad I logged on. Thank you to all of the powers that be that set it up for today. For those of you who don't know me, I would like to introduce myself first and foremost as a proud upright walking representative of my ancestors. I am Ifayomi Stanton. And Baba, the question that I have for you today on the other side of this chat is, how would you suggest we go about implementing the systems of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, like right now today? Like if you were going to give us a blueprint of where to start first to implement those systems, where would you have us start?
With ourselves. Are we a model of what the Honorable Marcus Garvey say a black man or a black woman should be? Are we using the information and the methodology that the Honorable Marcus Garvey said we should be using, whatever cultural motif we're in? And then look to your right and your left in your family and see, are there others in your very household who will work consistently with you to understand that the unity of family is essential as a foundation to building any civilization? And so try to find partnership within the family and then look to the extended family, friends and associates, aunts, uncles, people you work with, and try to bring them together where at least once a week you sit down and study this body of information that Amy Jacques left on his opinions and ideas. And other books, Tony Martin's work and Brother Hall's work, and there's so much good work. I mean, I love Tony because Tony and I kind of grew up together. Um, but study him together in a collective. Put together study groups in the household. Every household should take an hour to two a week to study him. And then put together, expand your study group into the community. There must be 5 or 6 other people you know in that community who will come and meet once a week or once a month and study these ideas and opinions and look at the historical practices. That's how we have to start. It's like that thing about charity. It begins at home and it spreads abroad. The same thing with this movement. It must begin with you, the individual, then expand into your family, your household, and then spread to your extended family, and then to the greater community. And it sounds like that's going to take a long time. No, it's not, because many of us are already doing all these things. We have to recognize the ones who are doing it and come together with them. And in doing so, we've got to be willing to set down some of our idiosyncrasies that cause divisions. You may say, well, we have 15 things here, but we only agree on 5 of the same things. Let's work on that 5. Let's work on those 5 things. Then we'll come back and chip at the 10 that's left. But let's take those 5 things that we and the 4 or 5 different groups or communities agree upon, and let's study those things and see how can we implement it, starting with providing a business in our community that can provide jobs in our community, then expanding it. In the United States last year, we spent $1.7 trillion with our enemies. You know how much money that is? $1.7 trillion with our enemies. Asian, Europeans, and Arabs. 1.7 trillion. 1/3 of that, we could end poverty anywhere in this hemisphere of our people. So coming
Absolutely.
together with yourself, am I practicing the principles? Then who around me is practicing or willing to learn how to practice it? So we'll form where we come together informally or formally as a study group once a week, and for a greater community once a month. And let's take maybe 3 ideas at a time. Let's just fulfill those 3 ideas. When we get them, we'll get 3 more, then 3 more, and expand ourselves. It'll
May I
move
add,
much faster than you think.
may I add right here?
Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Ia. And Ia is coming out with a fantastic book on African spirituality, which I wrote the foreword for, which is coming out in February, trying to bring African sacred science, the fundamental principles, to our people. So we have it all in one place, at least some of it. You never can get all, because our way of understanding the universe is too great, but we can get some.
Yes, yes. Yes,
Yes.
Empress.
No, I wanted to add right here that with regards to what you just mentioned, Baba,
Yes,
a
ma'am.
lot of us in the communities that we living in are small entrepreneurs, small business owners, local business owners, but
Mhm.
we're not given the opportunity. We see those with the money come in, whether it's the Arabs, especially the Arabs here in the Virgin Islands, they come in and they have all the gas stations, they have all the grocery stores, they have all the furniture stores, they have basically everything. So a
Yes,
lot
ma'am.
of us, the smaller local, our products are at home. Whereas we have to do pop-ups in order to get our products out there to sell.
Hmm.
So economically, it's a lot more difficult to reach to that point.
Yes, ma'am.
Exactly.
And so what's then become, that's why coming together, because
Mhm.
we can selectively say, okay, they got 7 gas stations, we have none. We pick one of them and says, nobody will shop at that one gas station. You're going out to business and you're going to sell us that station because ain't nobody shopping at your station. But you have to organize your family, and then you have to organize your families, and then
Mhm.
organize your community to make
Correct.
such a
Yeah.
statement. Because it is
Yeah.
our money that's keeping all of those business open. They didn't come there because they were chasing our money. They came there because they're chasing our money.
Mhm.
And we have all kinds of excuse because of our unconsciousness on why we are giving them our money. I just said African Americans spend $1.7 trillion with the enemy while they're crying about not having jobs and not being able to employ themselves. Well, you have to make the decision. Am I going to fight to change that equation? And the way I fight is I'm not giving you the 1.7 trillion. I'm going to find methodologies and ways to give it to myself. And that's the meetings we got to have behind closed doors, in the basements, in our living room, at the cocktail parties. That's what we need to be discussing.
Correct.
Truly.
All right.
Any more hands?
Oh, we have several hands up, but we also have two in the chat. By D. Benkin. How can we implement cultural education programs? I think you answered this, sir, in our communities today. And what would such a program look like today? And what are the key books? Hotep to Baba Smiles. I guess a
Yeah. Baba,
key
There's so
book.
many,
kind of
so many books that have to get my brain around. There's one that
yeah.
just happens to be sitting here, because I always have my books around me, that I would recommend, and I do recommend to everybody. And this little book is called Rebirthing. Let's see how to make it. Rebirthing
Taylor
African
Pride,
Consciousness.
African
Africa.
consciousness. Yeah. Yes.
Rebirthing African Consciousness. This should be a must read for every household.
Who is the
And
author?
the author, his name is so long, he frightens me, but this I'm gonna put it up on the screen. He's a beautiful young Nigerian brother. And when he sent me this copy, we had not met yet. We still haven't met in person. We've met online since. But you can see I've been reading this book. Um,
Yes.
this and any books that deal with rites of passages. Because see, rites of passage isn't just for the kids. If you set up a rites of passage, say you got 5 families, 10 families living on a block, and we want to set up a rites of passage, one for the girls and one for the boys. Well, rites of passage should involve that every parent who have a child in a rites of passage program should be a participant in the program also. That's how rites of passage should work. Because what rites of passages does is preparing the youth for position as an adult. You preparing the
Ascendancy.
youth to come into the greater society. And this is the
Yes.
occasion where you can get African culture in. The 7 principles of Kwanzaa is universal. It wasn't something Maulana made up. He got them from Africa. Use those 7 principles. Even within the church, the Bible comes out of African literature. They bastardized it and messed it up, but they were not smart enough to destroy it. So there's a lot in there to pick and use if that's the only tool you have, right? You got to use the tool that's in your hand. It's like that old proverb in the Bible where God asked David, like, what's in your hand, little boy? He had a rock. Okay, let's make the rock work. All right. You've got to use the tool in your hand, but you got to have a light you're going towards. The light is to go towards an African personality, an African consciousness, an African worldview, an African way of knowing reality. That's where we're trying to get to. And so if we got to step on some stones or some sticks in the water to get there, then that's what we do. But know what the goal is. And so rites of
Yes,
passage
sir.
programs works well. Study groups within the family work well. If you went to YouTube right now, I have over 100 lectures. You could study Professor Small forever. I even study myself. So, I study myself sometimes with my grandchildren, and we be having fun because they see me when I had hair, and then they see Grandpa now. And there's so many. Dr. Clark is there, Dr. Ben is there, Van Sertima is there, Tony Martin is there, uh, Francis Welsing is there, Marimba Ani is there. Go use the tools that's available to get this knowledge and this information.
Truly. Empress,
Okay, we have Honorable Priest Earl and then Priest Nappy.
Honorable Priest Earl, the floor is yours.
Reminder to ones to keep hydrated. Keep hydrated, Baba. Keep hydrated.
These two are that are coming on the platform shortly, Baba. These are two of our elders as well. Honorable Priest Earl,
I've been
on you.
feeling the energy all evening. So beautiful.
Yes.
Yes.
Royal family, just give thanks, for the great patriarch Marcus Garvey, and do give thanks, for, I and myself, and give thanks to the elder amongst us, because the man say Marcus shall go, but many more Marcus shall come. So I and I have to say the Marcus in I and I, I and I self, So, we give thanks to the one God, our great endeavor, one aim, our glorious Ben, one destiny forever, Rastafari, God bless our president, So we do give thanks, for, the Honorable Marcus Garvey, and they come and show such glorious light, So I look out ourselves, So give thanks to the Marcus Garvey that is in our house and amongst us at the moment, Yeah, man, give thanks to the beautiful reason going through. And give thanks to, even I speak with the elder where I'm on, I always love the conscious one, them like the higher and Dr. Ben and many more others, Conscious man, keep eye and eye on the pathway, and we're getting there. One perfect love.
One
Give
perfect.
thanks, Honorable Priest Nappy. Floor is yours.
Yes. Greetings, family.
Greetings, Honorable.
Greetings, Dr. Small. We give thanks for your presence and all of the words that you speak. We are on one accord. I myself, in my teenage years, lived in New York. I went to school in New York, and I had the privilege of meeting Dr. Henry Clark.
Oh,
and
wonderful.
that kind of rose my consciousness. Where I started adhere to Marcus Garvey teachings, and then Marcus Garvey teachings to Haile Selassie. And then Haile Selassie, I went and visited and lived on the hills with Honorable King Emmanuel, Charles Edward. But I learned a lot of lessons. One of the greatest teachers that I personally ever been around. Life stories and life histories.
Yeah.
Just solid teachings, simple teachings, And from there, we came back to the US, and I knew that industries is what we need to have, and I started a business from 1987, which is considered the first Jamaican roots drink in North America. And we have been going, being one of the only black brewery, registered brewery in South Florida, especially with the type of beverage, the ingredient that we carry is a herbal beverage. It's not like a beer or anything like that, but we are licensed. So I just had the opportunity, as a matter of fact, A week ago today, last Sunday, I actually was at the in Burkina Faso, where they killed the leader. Got the name, but and from there, uh, pardon me. Yes,
Sankara?
Sankara, definitely Sankara Center, and actually went through same time last week at this moment here. We were going through with the guide and telling you the histories of what went on, how important Fidel Castro was to the black community throughout Africa,
Mm-hmm.
and the ones, the other African nations that was in lieu with the enemy, you know, in taking his life, which to the folks is like a sacrifice, because in the monument in the museum where he is, it's like there were 13 individuals, Sankara and his ministers, that were, that is displayed on that mural,
Mm-hmm.
which depict almost like the savior with his disciples,
He was
and
one of our messiahs, one of
definitely,
our young messiahs.
I definitely believe that, as well as many others.
Mm-hmm.
I also had the opportunity to stay in the home of Sheikh Anti-Dop
Mm-hmm.
sons. Yes, the son that live in Senegal.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so I went to Senegal. I drove from Senegal to the Gambia. I went to Ivory Coast. Then I went to Burkina Faso, and
You're
I
brave,
went to
brave,
and I
honorable.
and I went to Morocco. And
Mm.
but Burkina Faso, wow, it's a beautiful place. People them are beautiful. And I went to the market there. And I've been to the market in New York, down in Delancey Street back in the days going to high school. And I'm telling you, I've not seen materials and, just displayed like what I saw in Burkina Faso. I have not seen where woman is like, they ride most of the motorcycle there with their children on the front, tied on their back. What I mean? And I see a lot of nice, great, uplifting things that, you know, give me hope. Something may look a little slow, but I think if we keep trucking in the right direction, put away petty prejudice, and stay focused on the things that we have in common, as you said before. I believe, this is one of the lesson Prince Man taught. He said, look, man, keep building, you know, keep your hand busy and keep building. And I believe if we can have industries for our brothers here and in Africa that keep them hand busy, that they know they come to work, they get paid, they can send their children to school and live a good quality life. If we can accomplish those things, I think we will solve it. I think our problem may be half solved.
Yeah,
I
good
Keep our
point.
agree.
hand busy in productive things, building and edifying ourselves. So I say, thank you very much. I thank the Council of Elders. As I said, this is my first time back from that time, maybe 3-4 weeks. And I am privileged to listen and hear someone, that not from amongst the Rastafari per se in a family, that we're on the same basis and the same understanding and one kingship. And I say thank you very much. Give thanks.
Thank you,
One love.
honorable, and
Give
much
thanks,
love, much respect.
We'll
give
give
thanks,
thanks.
Honorable Priest. Okay. Um, Royal Empress.
Honorable Priest Lamont.
Oh, the Royal Bridgin, Honorable Priest Lamont, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Honorable. Let me say greetings to the royal family and let me say great respect to the Council of Elders. But let me also say great love and admiration to our Honorable Patriarch Baba Small. Such great, informative, and inspirational talk. The question that I have, or the concern, might have been addressed quite a few times in some way. I have listened to you talk about the wealth of our Black people and what the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey would have alluded to in terms of it being amassed. It's not just to be individually owned, but to be amassed in a way that it can be what we call it, more international, universally helpful to the Black world of people. And for quite some time, I have looked at the wealth of great Black people, Black sports icons, music icons, and Black people that have amassed wealth in many different ways. My concern is where do we pool this wealth so that it can be secured? The concern comes even more impressive when I listen to the old wars that are taking place around the world, and you hear that the assets of Iran is frozen. In America, you can hear the asset of Russia is frozen somewhere, and what can we suggest or say or to
Right. Let me try.
people to pool their wealth in a place that it is secured and cannot be frozen just like that.
Right.
In terms of
by the enemy. Mm-hmm.
That's why it's important that we support the Burkina Faso. That's why it's important we support Mali and we support Niger. One of the things they've done in Burkina Faso is to stop exporting their gold and their precious metals. They're refining and designing it right there at home, and they're building their assets by keeping their money and their solid wealth right at home. Tanzania under Magufuli, before God bless his soul, before he passed, and I think he was also murdered. That was the former president of Tanzania. He sued the British and got billions back from the gold they stole. And he began to refine their own gold in Tanzania and to build their wealth right in the country. Many countries, for safety, send their gold to America. Part of the trick. America lets you know you're insecure, so send it to me and I'll keep it secure. And Iran got caught into that trap, and others are caught in that trap. You don't have to send your money to America or to China or to England. You can keep your wealth in your country and learn how to protect it or die trying, and that has to be the decision we make. When we watch America right now, it seems like such a wealthy place, but it's really not. That whole thing going on in the Persian Gulf is something there called the petrodollars, where America cut a deal years ago. I think it was Ronald Reagan or Nixon, one of the two, where they told the Saudi Arabians, who were then at the top of the food chain for the oils, we will protect you militarily if you tell people they can only buy oil from you in dollars. So the rest of the world today have to come to America with their gold and buy American dollars to buy petroleum. Venezuela, China, Iran, and Russia were the four countries that broke away from doing that. And that's why you saw what happened to Venezuela and Iran, because they started if four of them broke away, they can't mess with China very much, and they can't mess with Russia, but they went after Venezuela. They went after um,
Iran.
Iran, because if others start breaking that trend and stop using U.S. dollar, the American dollar would go bankrupt overnight. This dollar is being supported because Britain, Germany, everybody to buy oil from the person from OPEC must use U.S. dollars. But you have to first buy the U.S. dollars with natural resources. Do you understand me? The criminal
Yeah.
operations just never end. The thuggery never end. That's thuggery at the highest level of international hijacking. And so we have the resources in Africa. We don't have to send it out of our country to nowhere else. We can refine our gold there, our cobalt, our coltan, our tungsten, our manganese, and keep it right there and die to protect it if that's what we must do.
And as you say that, Baba, when President of Ghana visited Jamaica a couple weeks back, I attended the meet and greet ceremony for him. And one of the things he said that touched me, that was very impressive and hopeful, is that with what's going on over in the Straits, the Straits of Hormuz, it's not affecting Ghana because recently Ghana refurbished their refinery that was closed for near a decade, and they are now refining their own fuel and supplying their local needs.
Right. And the
You see
same
that
thing,
happening
the
in South
big
Africa.
refinery in Nigeria has been open for a while. They're getting ready to open a new one in Kenya. And Bogota from
And one is
Nigeria
open,
is building that one. And
and one is open in South Africa as well. So
yes.
it's very
So
hopeful.
right. As we move in that direction, Mugabe was trying to take us there, and many people didn't listen to him. But most Southern African countries did support Mugabe, contrary to what the West said. They did not go along with the American boycott. It was the Western world that went along with the American boycott because Mugabe was trying to show us this at the very beginning, decades ago
Yeah,
now. And many African nations, that's what Sankara had done. And that's why he was assassinated. And I had the pleasure of meeting him and having dinner with that young man 2 months before he was assassinated. And with his assassin sat right next to me. That's the sad part of that story, who grew up in
wow,
his home like a brother. But the thing
wow.
is, I think we're making the right moves in Africa right now. We're beginning to not send our wealth abroad to be protected by Western Bank and Western repository. We're building repositories in our own country that we're using our own military and technology to protect. And
Yes,
that
sir.
is the answer.
Yes, sir. Empress, any questions as we wind down?
Yes, two more, Kes Aswad and Priest 7.
Okay. Honorable Priest Aswad, the floor is yours. And please let us concise our questions. Thank you.
Blessed love, my
Honorable Priest
Lord.
Aswad,
Blessed love, my
Majesty.
Lord, and Empress. Heart of celebration. Give thanks for the honorable guest, Baba James Small,
Yeah.
Professor, international, universally declaring everything and teaching so much, so full of inspiration and so full of everything. Give thanks for your presence, brother. Your presence
Thank
is
you.
well filled. I must
Thank
say
you.
a little thing, and I want to ask you one question, but I will say something. Marcus Messiah Garvey emphasized that cultural roots are essential for people to survive, comparing the cultureless groups who are like rootless trees and view the black skin as a symbol of greatness rather than shame, urging that greater respect must be upon ourselves through our ancestral awareness. He also stated that self-confidence is very important and vital to avoid defeat. And he famously said it is a calling to emancipation. Emancipate the mind from mental slavery and empower the race to achieve our goals. Garvey taught that confidence secures victory from the start, and individuals should create their own opportunities, liberating and making them if they are none. But he also said liberate the minds that leads to a physical liberation of our people. As we have disagreements and things come up between us, and we have to eliminate that. Like Stokely Carmichael, Tory from Trinidad, who was banned from Trinidad when he had a breakup with the Black Panther in 1969 due to major ideological disagreements with the founder, Huey P. Newton. But Mr. Carmichael stands strong and did what he had to do. That's like a similarity to the question the person was trying to bring division between Marcus Messiah Garvey and Emperor Selassie. As the media, the British media was playing with the maize and causing a distortion. Honorable Priest Baba, I said too much already, but I want to ask this question. What do we need to do to keep us gummy and loving each other, because we bring distortion among ourselves, we create havoc between ourselves, and that is considered spiritual suicide and physical death. My Lord and Majesty, could you kindly answer the question?
Yes. The
Yeah,
thing
give
we have
thanks.
to do, Honorable, is not give up on our cultural practices. You know, we've got caught up in this want to be like the rest of the world.
Yes.
Instead of wanting to be what we are. You see behind me, that red, black, and green is always there. I do nothing in my life. That's a part of my life. My dress for you today is red, black, and green. This is one of the most sacred collection of colors we have. And the Honorable Marcus Garvey brought us these colors for a reason. If you go back to ancient Kemet, and if you ever watch the falcon god with all of his color, it's red, black, and green. So they knew something we don't know yet. They were saying something to us. Our culture is not just the dance, it's not just the music, it's not just the dress, but everything means something. Every one of these symbols have a philosophical interpretation. Every dance movement, every hand movement, every foot movement is telling our ancient story, is telling our philosophical story to ourselves, to our children. And so we need to get a hold of our music and our dance so we can learn the stories again and teach it to our children. So when they see someone dancing, it's not just shaking the hips for sexual reasons. There's something behind our women moving their hips a certain way that has to do with creation, has to do with God the divine. So we have to learn our culture again, read it well, and then teach it and not be afraid of teaching our culture, wearing our culture, and as much as we can, learning to speak the language, our Creole. They call it Creole, but it's our language. You know, I speak my Gullah Geechee Creole. You speak your Jamaican Creole, but that's your African grammar structure with the English vocabulary set on top of it. The value in any language is not the vocabulary, it's the grammar. It's the grammar that tells the story. It is the grammar that informs how you feel, how you see, how you look. And ours is fundamentally African. But we have to tell our children that again so they don't think we're speaking bad English. You know, they need to know we are speaking African language using English vocabulary and Africa grammar structure. It's the grammar structure that informs and instructs how to think. And so culture is essential because it's your educational system. I say that over and over again. And everything we do is cultural. Why do we eat the food we eat? Why do we eat this food this time of year, but we don't eat that food this time of year? Because the food is also medicine. You know, yes, it tastes good. We enjoy it, but we also making sure we're staying healthy. That's a part of culture. Health is a big part of your spiritual development, but it's in the food. It is in when you sleep. Going to bed on time, saying, oh, you need to go to bed early. We think, oh, I don't get to watch my late TV show, you know, because no, you go to bed early because you're giving the body a chance to heal itself from all of the days dispensation that it has gone through. So all of these things make up a culture of a people. I'll give you just one real quick one. Like I practice sometimes, I have a priesthood in multiple cultures, but one is the Yoruba culture, and I'm a priest of Oya. My shrine is not in Nigeria. My shrine is in Trinidad, at Chaguanas Enterprise Village. It's been there for hundreds of years because we brought it with us. Okay. And so I'm Oya. That means to transform. They said, oh, yeah, the wind. Yeah, because the wind blow out the stale and the bad things and let the fresh come in. But the concept of Oya in the story is about transformation. And the Oya is always portrayed as a female, and she marries two men. She's practicing polyandry. And people love that. So, women can do this, but that's not what the story is about. The story is about marrying Shango, which is the awareness to recognize the need for change, and then marrying Ogun, which is transformation, the result of change. Oya's in the middle sees the process of change that goes from recognizing the need to accepting and moving into the transformation as a result of the change process. That's African philosophy. You see, it isn't just wearing some necklaces. I can take those beads, I have a bunch of them over there, all of my elekes. Each one is a university unto itself. Each one. So culture is more powerful than you think. The herbs you take, that's culture. That's medicine, that's pharmaceuticals. But it's our natural pharmaceutical. And we don't take the same herb in September that we take in December. There's something in the culture that says, oh, this herb is for the spring because it cleanses. This herb is for the summer because it refreshes and restores. This herb is for the fall because it strengthens. And we make music about them. We do dances around them. We wear clothes that resemble them. So culture is your education system. It's your power at the foundation.
But that story you just told about Oya, I learned at the Edna Manley Performing Arts School about maybe 2 years ago. I attended the students were acting out that whole scenario, that you just expressed with, and I never knew it before, and it was a beautiful experience to hear and understand it. But it was even a great experience to see my Jamaican youths acting it out, having a clear understanding of it, and sharing the message with the community that attended. So that's great. That's beautiful. Honorable Priest Sevens, the floor is yours.
Bless the love, my Lord and Empress. Thanks for the reason.
Blessings.
Yes, and first and foremost, pay my respects and honors, to our royal, dignified guest, Father James Smalls. Give thanks to have you here with us, my Lord. Do glorify. Thanks for your presence, virtual presence. Right? But I'm going into the question. Well, we all understand that Ethiopia, the cradle of civilization, where civilization began, where Black people start off, right? And it is also understood that Black people has migrated to other places of the earth, right? And when they migrated, they started civilizations and taught different people things, and but right now there are some Black people viewing that as them being indigenous to other places of the earth other than Africa. Right? It is a debate going on right now. Right? Some saying they don't have to go to Africa because they also are indigenous to other places of the earth where Black people first was. Right? So the question is that is that safe to say that we are not just indigenous to Africa alone? Is that a fact? Right? And what is
No,
your
it's
views?
not a fact and it's not safe to say. And we need
Right.
to question. I understand why some people, when you're ignorant, you grab whatever straw is available to try and puff your soda pop through, if I want to make it a game. But and to say indigenous is to make an assumption that there was a different creation besides the only creation. Everyone in the world who knows any kind of science or willing to do any kind of research in anthropology, paleontology, archaeology, or whatever you want to, that you will follow the mitochondria DNA that is passed only by women, and it will lead only to Ethiopia, Abyssinia, to one black woman that started all of this. Now, did we move all over the world? Of course we did. We were in Vietnam. We were in Cambodia. We are in India. We're still there. We were in Australia. We were in New Guinea. We were everywhere. So what's such a big deal about being in North America? We're dealing with hurt people, people whose spirits have been broken, people who are responding out of ignorance and fear and marginalization and grabbing for anything that make them feel like something. So to me, they're victims. So I must understand the victim give me a responsibility. My responsibility only exists because of their victimizations. Now, there's over 2 billion of us on the earth. And so a couple of thousand having this debate in the United States is useless. It's meaningless, except that those couple of thousand also belong to us. And it is not our job to heal the healthy. It is our job to heal the injured and the sick. And so even though sometimes they fight me fiercely, I don't fight them back, except that I love you and my responsibility is to give light and guidance to you. Yes, we were in the Caribbean when Columbus got here. Yes, we were in Central South America. And the people there don't deny it. They said there's those of us, if you go to southern Mexico, they'll tell you about those who were there before the boat and those who came on the boat being the slave ships. But the currents, even when we go back a couple of million, more than a couple of million years, to when the planets were all touching each other, well, some of us got left over here, and some, you know what I'm saying? We don't stay in one place now. But when they do the DNA for the world, the Africans, I don't know much about this haplogroup and so forth, but I know the Europeans and Asians have only 6 of the strands that make them human. We've got 9, right? I also know that from all of the research, and some people say, well, you can't trust them. Yes, we know we can't trust the Europeans, but a lot of black people is into this research too. And there's some European research that is, significant and well done. And it shows that most Africans in the world has zero difference between them. That the difference is not genetic. The difference is really cosmetic, right? Where the ecology we found ourselves in as we were evolving. If I'm in the desert, I'm going to look a little different from you who are in the rainforest as I evolve. But I'm the same, I'm the same organism, right? If I'm in the grassland, I'm a little different from a person up in the mountains. They had to breathe different. Their body have to grow different. The clothing we wear be different. The stories we tell to explain reality is going to be different. But those, what's the word? You got genotypes and then you got phenotypes. You got the genotypes that say what we are, and that's that we all one. And the phenotypes that we vary based on the ecology and the time of our evolution in that location. And you can't dispute that. You can work all the science you want, you know? Some of us, I understand the hurt of some people in North America. We've been fighting that like you've been fighting that in the Caribbean and other parts of the world, that the damage the whites have done to our consciousness, our psyche, and our mind is immense. And it would do to read Sister Joy DeGraff book on post-slavery trauma and the implication of that damage, or Dr. Wade Noble, who writes about shattered conscious and broken African identity And he's a
Yes.
psychiatrist, a psychologist who breaks this down and show you the injury and the damage and our response as a result of the injury and the damage. But you can better know that since it is the international policy of the American government, and I'm sure the French and the British government as well, but particularly the American government, it says in writing that the black people of the Caribbean, of Africa, and of the United States should never be allowed to unite. That's their
Yes.
policy. Okay.
Yes.
This is and they put it in writing multiple times under multiple presidencies. So some of what we're seeing happening to the deaf, blind, and dumb is being informed by being encouraged and maybe even financed by our enemies. I hope I've said that clear enough. People understand.
Very, very, very clear. Baba, before we let you go, I want to pick your mind on one topic here. Booker T. Washington,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm bringing it back now to Marcus Garvey.
Mm-hmm.
What was it about Booker T that attracted Marcus? What do you think was the essence of that relationship?
Yeah, I think because they were thinking the same. They both had seen the same things. They saw the condition of their people. And they both came up with self-reliance and separation was essential for us, especially at that particular time in history. Not just self-reliance in the general sense, but institutional construct that supported self-reliance. You know, when Booker T. Washington was brought to that school to teach, it was a brother, I think his name was Adams, a black man. He had helped this guy, his name is Lewis Adams. He had helped some Alabama senator get elected. And so the senator, they asked the man, said, what can we give you for bringing the black votes to the table? He said, a school for my people. And they gave him $2,000, but he had no land. He had no buildings. And he called a friend of his in Hampton, Virginia, who said, I got a young man here. He's about 21 years old, 20, named Booker T. Washington. We need to find a place to place him as a teacher. And so Booker T went out there to Mr. Adams and he bought the first land that Tuskegee would be built on. And then him and his students built the first building. And then they built all the other buildings. But they did more than that. They built the bricks from which the buildings was built. You know what I'm saying? So, and they built the food that they ate. And they raised the cattle. And they did the gardens. That self-sufficient, self-reliance was a part of Booker's thing from the inception. And I think
Okay.
Dr. Garvey saw that and he liked the model that finally that was evolving out of Tuskegee. That's why I know they killed Mr. Booker. Because if you remember, shortly, about a year before Garvey came to America, Booker was fighting the African Exclusionary Act because of all the Africans, especially Jamaicans, that was working on the Panama Canal, had begun many at the end of this building to migrate to America. They didn't want that black population migrating from Panama to America. So they came up with an act in Congress to amend the 15th Amendment that said no Africans can come to America. And it was Booker T. Washington that fought and defeated that bill, right? And then the next level, Booker would live up to 4 months before Garvey got here. But when you read the letters between him and Garvey, they're all in the Schomburg Library. Those men love each other. They understood each other. And as Tony Martin wrote in his book, Dr. Garvey said, I come to implement the Tuskegee model that based on
Yes.
self-reliance, building self-economy, building farms for yourself, organizing your community. That's what Booker was talking about. But they had to put Booker down. America, they beat him down because they didn't want you to understand that self-reliance and building your own economy is the way to go. So they wanted you caught up in socialist ideology and these ideologies that the Europeans were importing, but we have our own ideology. And it's based on African communal, collective, cooperative understanding of how to use families to build communities. And so that's the Tuskegee model, but that was also the UNIA model from its inception.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know? And you remember Booker had a conference. It was called, I wrote it down to the Conference of the Negro World. But the British wouldn't let Garvey come to the conference. But 10, I think it was 10 Jamaicans came to that conference in Tuskegee. And they were the ones that hooked the two of them up. When the brothers and sisters went back home to Jamaica, they said, hey, you need to talk to that guy. And then they started communicating. And they wanted to come together and work together. But it didn't happen because Mr. Booker died before he got here. But if you study especially a lot of Tony's work and you look at a lot of the people that made up the UNIA, many of them were part of Booker T. Washington's movement, from Henrietta Benton Davis to who was the number 2 person for a long time, a sister who was an educator and an actress who spoke Spanish, French, and English, to T. Thomas Fortune, who became the editor over the Negro World. He was the editor of Booker Washington's journal. So many of Booker Washington's people immediately joined the UNIA, you know.
Yeah.
And in Booker Washington, if you remember, the foundation of Tuskegee was the AME Church. Well, Henrietta Benton Davis was a core of the AME Church, and the AME Church platform is what was used to move the UNA around America so quickly, because that platform was open. So I don't know what the world would be. We'd probably truly be free if the two of them could have physically worked together. But I think they spiritually worked together. Their concepts, ideas, and principles were so aligned with each other. You don't see many contradictions in their political alignment, economic alignments, cultural alignment.
It's Black August, the month of the Black Tiger Marcus Messiah Garvey. A time of reflection when we take a moment to remember the martyrs and heroes of the African liberation struggle, those courageous individuals who sacrificed it all that people...
There's a good book done by Thayeen Wright on Booker T. Washington, the Pan-Africanist, and she does a lot of research on the relationship between Garvey and Booker. And of course, Tony Martin deals with that research too. And you can see it, that the enemy tried to make us think these people were enemies. These brothers were working together. They were friends. They were brothers. They were African comrades fighting for freedom
And we noticed that
on the same avenue.
Booker T is the least spoken about of all those that rose up during that period of time, the intellectuals that rose up within the Black community. They have suppressed a lot of the knowledge about Booker.
Yeah, because he was talking about the same thing that Garvey was talking about. Own your own business, own your own land, feed yourself, clothe yourself, get control of the technical skills of the environment you find yourself in. Don't leave that for somebody else, then you become a servant to them. He made a speech, which they call the Atlanta Compromise, but if you read that speech, there's nothing compromising in it. I love this speech. I think it's one of the greatest oratorio piece. It was so clandestine. He's speaking, he's telling the African people one thing, he's telling the white people another thing, and he's telling the politicians another thing, all at the same time. So you got to be listening to when he's talking to you.
Yeah. Give thanks, Baba. We do give thanks for you coming and sharing your wisdom with us today. I know that all the members of the council, they have been enhanced by your presence, and we will look forward to having you back on other moments as we share, our Black concept. And you gave a key answer today to a lot of plaguing questions. What is it that we need to do? How we need to do it? Like you said, the economics is a key. Preserving our culture, looking at things through that Ethiopian spectacle, as was said back in the day, meaning looking at things from our African ancestral view and not falling for the doke of what has been presented to us, the Western ideologies, the communism, the socialism, the different isms that we have been taught to embrace as our solution. So we do give thanks for you taking time out of your Sunday, your day with your grandchildren and family, to be with your extended family. I and I.
Yes. I'm honored. that you even asked me. Jamaica has always been one of those favorite places. I've always, in our fights over here and living in New York City, almost all my comrades were from Jamaica. You look for the warriors who was willing to go in the streets in the 60s and the 70s. Yes, them brothers was ready to go to war on a dime. Um, we did a lot to support Michael Manley when he was in office. And of course, in many ways, some I can't say, on the lecture.
Yes,
We
yes,
understood the politics that was going on. We supported Maurice, of course, in Grenada. I
yes.
gave my support as best I could to Brother Daiga
Bishop,
and the NJAC movement in Trinidad, and the other spiritual movements in Trinidad, which is my sacred space at the Kenny Cyrus Ile Jube, which is my shrine in Chaguanas. So the Caribbean is, even though my mother and father come from North America, the Caribbean is as much my home. My wife's family is from Trinidad and St. Martin, and she was born in Aruba, but all of her grandparents are in Trinidad or St. Martin. So, the Caribbean is half of my family, and I spent
we're
a lot of
one
time
family.
there,
We're one family, Baba. We're one
Yes,
family.
yes.
Yeah, man. So we look forward to greater things as we work towards rebuilding our nation. That was Garvey's thing, rebuilding the African nation. They have
Mm.
they have separated us into being a race, and as we all know, a race is a competition. We're not competing against each other. We're
No,
complementing each other as we build together. So
one
we
Africa.
glorify one Africa, one people, one nation, one God, one aim, one destiny. Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, the Black Tiger. So we do give thanks, and
We have
you
one
know,
hand up if Baba have any space. We know we've had you for a moment and we really appreciate love. Thank you for hydrating. I see you're hydrating. Thank you.
Thank you to remind me.
okay, who is the person?
Chris Campbell.
Okay, Honorable Priest Campbell, the floor is yours.
Give thanks, my Lord, and give thanks for the Council of Elders, and give thanks for the Honorable Professor Smalls.
Thank you, sir.
Give thanks for your words, because sometimes we get caught up in the individual, the man, but sometimes his works is left undone.
Mhm.
So one of the greatest things that you have said that stood out to me and that resonated with me deep internally is when you speak of, study the life, study the works, study the idea of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey when it comes to economics, politics, and power. You know, all of that really stood out to me because I believe strongly that we as a people, that's where we need to look right now. Sometimes we like to echo the words, but sometimes I feel like we need to start doing the works and more focus on self and how we can move along. Because as my teacher, my mentor, the Honorable King Emmanuel Charles Edward, he said once, he said, Earth is moving. And if you don't move with Earth, it will move and left you behind. So you come in kind of bring a fullness to that prophecy, what he spoke while he was here in the flesh. Because one other thing that he told me, because he gave us a lot of words, but he also said, study words. So the words that you have spoken today, we want to get together and start studying the words and start to do the works that those words call for. So, I mean, you have answered many questions, but again, how could you see we as a people move towards actually doing the works? I'm just picking your brains right now, Dr. Smalls.
Well, that's the key. We have to look at where we are and look around and see who's thinking as we do. That's always the beginning place. Who can I reach out and grab the hands up and be a friend, a brother, a comrade with? around these sets of principles. Once we clear on what was Garvey's principles, if he was here right now, what would he tell me to do right now? Identify those principles, identify those duties, identify that body of work, and then see who is willing to work with you to implement and carry forward. That's where we have to start, wherever we are, whatever our profession, whether you're a lawyer, doctor, carpenter, fisherman, work in the laundry, drive a taxi, you must start in that place. What are the principles I learned from Garvey that I can learn and implement now? And who agrees with me enough that we could work together to do this? That's how we get started.
Give
That's how
thanks,
we get
give
started.
thanks, give thanks. Baba, when you speak to Baba Jeffries and his wife, just extend I and I love.
Absolutely. I spoke with him yesterday, and he's doing well. Some of the
Doing
young
well.
brothers and sisters, Dr. Jeffries is now in an assisted living home, but he still
Right.
is in good shape. And I was there last week to visit him on Monday, and some young
Okay,
brothers and sisters from Trinidad came down to visit him yesterday, and they called and got us on the phone together. So I'll be sure and let him know when I go this week and his wife that you send your blessings and your regards.
definitely. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Yes, Royal Empress. I think this is where we have come to the conclusion of our program. I know we don't want to end because we have this phenomenal mind in our midst, but Baba has other things that he wants to attend to, and I know that.
Right.
And we are here for several hours, so we do give thanks. Give thanks for all who participated, all who was listening online. I hope that the program was fulfilling to everyone as we celebrate the greatest man who came through the line of a woman. And as Baba said, a God, Marcus Messiah Garvey, the Black Tiger, Marcus I, Haile Selassie I, Jah, Rastafari.
Rastafari.
It's Black August, the month of the Black Tiger Marcus Messiah Garvey. A time of reflection when we take a moment to remember the martyrs and heroes of the African liberation struggle, those courageous individuals who sacrificed it all that people of African descent could have a chance at a better life. Join the EABIC Council of Elders on Sunday the 16th of August at 12 noon along with our guest speaker Professor Baba James Small as he shares his wisdom. I shall return with countless millions who died in America, the Caribbean and Africa to aid in your struggle for liberty. A promise of Marcus Garvey. Long live the spirit of the Black Tiger. Join us as we honor the legacy of our ancestors. A people without the knowledge of their past are like a tree without roots, which withers and dies. Know the truth and it will set you free. Our freedom is meaningless until all Africans can stand and speak as free people. Our struggle continues.
Rastafari. Yes, sir. Royal family.
Yes, my lord. We are
Honorable
to come down right now. Give
Yes,
thanks for
my
the
lord.
moments, our well spent moments with each and every one of the greater family. And again, we give thanks for the honored guest for spending his precious time with us and informing us and making us feel, every man supposed to feel, I know man, feel stronger before it's coming, more informed. So, Honorable Priest Earl, we'll call on the eye for bring it down with a closing prayer, my Lord.
Through the chair, my
Honorable
lord.
Priest Earl.
Through the chair. Honorable Priest Brown, can make a little quick statement?
Yes, Honorable. I hear another vice versa. Could you talk up a little louder with the family here?
Priest Brown just put in a little reminder to the brethren say a while ago. Say we have to recognize that some of us have already been doing what Marcus Garvey has requested of us. So we need to recognize the ones who have been following such path and straighten such. My Lord and Empress, give thanks.
My Lord, blessed. Yes, please, sir. Yes, Honorable Priest, sir.
Priest Earl.
Yes, my Lord and Empress. Yes,
My Lord.
yeah, Mama, do give thanks, Yes, for such a glorious moment going through. And give thanks, yeah, and who make it possible. I mean, give thanks to the royal priest and
Breaking up, technical problem.
yes, I don't know if you're hearing me better.
Move around, Priest Earl. We're not hearing you. You're breaking up.
Much louder.
Oh, you're hearing me a little better.
Yes.
Yes, I just say give thanks to such a beautiful program and give thanks here and the Marcus Garvey and the Queen Amigos. You know what I mean? Yes, there's a chorus let's say, one God or great endeavor, one hymn or glorious bed, one destiny forever. God bless our president. God bless our president. Marcus, I.
Gracias.
Yeah. Rastafari. Ask your virtual reverence universal international, As I
Reverend
said.
Four Wings.
Yes, as I said, behold, how good and how pleasant it is for us, brethren and our sisters, to dwell together in unity and in love. It's like the precious ointment that is upon the head that run down upon the beard, even Aaron's beard that went down upon the skirt of his garment, as the dew for a man, and as the dew that ascend upon the mountain of Zion. For here Rastafari command the blessed, even life and love forevermore. Hail our God, Selassie, Jehovah God, Rastafari. Almighty God, Rastafari, great and terrible God, Rastafari is the Almighty God. Jah who seated in Zion and reigned the heart of all flesh. How thou most high eternal Father, Jehovah God, Rastafari. Hear us and bless us, O Lord, keep and sanctify us all. Cast thy holy face to shine upon us, thy children, that we shall be saved and redeemed. Selassie, Jah, Rastafari. I just said, John the Baptist, fasting in the wilderness, give thanks to, the mighty prophet, who is in a man and also in a woman. Well, Emmanuel, I, Selassie,
All right.
yeah,
Rastafari, my Lord and
Rastafari, one perfect love royal family.